Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us, and I've been excited for this one. I'm here today with Lonely Havoc, the Lonely Havoc on Twitter, correct?
Yeah, the Lonely Havocs with an S.
Havocs.
Yeah,
See?
on Twitter, and then the Lonely Havoc without an S on Instagram because I'm all about multi-platform continuity.
Yeah, that's what I have, Artist Empire and then Artist Empire Art on Instagram. It kills me because someone who has Artist Empire doesn't even use it. I'm like, oh, come on.
Right.
the the last time I did with Brush Wizard, and we had
Ah.
talked about hobby vices, and I introduced him as Hobby Wizard.
Yeah, that's his name.
Hey, thanks for joining us, Al. Appreciate you stopping. I
He's
think it's Al or AI. Either it's an AI or Al. I can't see on my screen. Oh, I'm gonna
he's
need glasses.
officially he's got to officially change his name to Hobby Wizard now.
Hobby Wizard.
I think that's the only answer.
That's it.
So I'm not going to be able to see the chat because there's just too much of a delay in
Okay,
the
good.
audio of both.
Yeah, don't do that
So
then.
actually, you know what? Let me just mute one of the audios. Let's be smart about this.
The digital age. It's
The
so
digital
funny.
age, man.
It's like I didn't plan on streaming or anything. I don't know what I got into it
Hmm.
the last month, and so
Yeah,
it's all these connect to this and software and downloading stuff. It's like you get a
yeah.
degree and I don't even know what connecting things.
It's there's ways to make things work, and then a lot of times it just doesn't. So
It's
whenever it does, it's like this. It's a pretty huge accomplishment.
oh man, this is gonna be good. And you even got your guitar here, so we can have some music once in a
Yeah, I
while.
was just farting around with that a little bit. You know
Um,
how it is.
First
There we go.
thing I wanted to ask is okay, because I've liked this chapter. I've seen you post pictures of them before, and I really love the paint color you used because you
Hmm.
don't see it often, and you made it all work. So what is this chapter, real quick?
So I call these guys the Ghost Wolves. They
Okay.
are obviously patterned after Native Americans, most specifically the Native Americans of the Southwest.
Okay.
So like I was trying to get that sort of desert, sort of dusty feel to
Yep.
them. I actually conceived of them when I was on a trip to Sedona, Arizona, which if
Oh,
you haven't been and you have the means to go, you should go because it's gorgeous and fantastic. And I literally had like a bunch of spiritual moments there where I was just like staring at like all the colors and the sun setting.
yeah.
And like, I'm, that's my heritage as well as I'm
Yeah.
Mexicans or like we're Native American in
Yep.
in ancestry. So I felt like this real connection with like everything. And I was like, how come there's no Native American Space Marines?
Yep.
Because Games Workshop has been doing great stuff lately, trying being more inclusive, and
Yeah.
there's more female models and we get more skin tones.
Yep.
But I hadn't seen any Native American models really.
Yep.
Everybody will say Deathwing, yeah, Deathwing, but they didn't look to me. They didn't look Native
Yeah,
American
I could see
in
that.
in facial features and in tone and everything. So I wanted to do something that had the
Yeah.
skin, the dark skin, and like kind of you got to be really careful with that whole imagery though because you get into this like uh 1950s and 60s Western Plains Indians sort
Oh
of
yeah,
thing where,
like yeah, it's
where
weird.
you got like Ricardo
Yeah.
Montalban playing a Native American guy or something, so
Yep.
it's you got to be careful with that whole look, but I tried to keep the
No, I
colors
think you really
specific.
pulled it off. It's got like the flavor
Thank you.
from it, but yeah, I love these dudes.
Yeah, thank you.
They were looking sharp. Have you
And
played with
just
them? Have you played
Oh
with them?
yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it started off as a kill team. Like I'm like every other person in the planet that's like, oh, I'll do kill team because it's like less models.
Okay, so that's me and Necromunda. That
Yeah,
was
yeah,
me and
yeah.
Necromunda.
And then like I'm like at like 2,000, 3,000 points of
Hey, Brush
Ghost
Wizard,
Wolves
thanks
now.
for joining. Sorry to interrupt. You just
Oh,
joined
it's
us,
the
so I want to
Brush
say hey
Wizard.
to him.
What a loser.
It's not Hobby Wizard. It's not Hobby Wizard. It's Brush Wizard.
So yeah, it's all about just imagery and trying to like not go what's the word, stereotypical with it. So
Yeah,
it's a
yeah.
balancing act.
It's and I do it drawing, and it is a fine line because it's almost you get into stereotypical land, and so you're
Mhm.
trying to be cool. So you want to bring elements in, but you don't want to be like stereotypical with what you're bringing in. So it does take
Right.
some
And
learning.
it's a matter of trying to represent something that people will identify immediately.
Yeah,
And so the problem with that, though, is you are going to draw on stereotypes somewhere
yeah,
in some fashion, like the feathers and things, obviously. But, if you look at Native Americans from like Pacific Northwest, a lot less feathers, a lot
yeah,
more like, like whales and sort of like aquatic
yeah.
imagery and things like that because of the location and stuff. So you have to like think about that too. And I considered that as well, but I didn't have as much of a feeling for it.
Hmm.
And so I went with Southwest, and
Yeah,
checking on my ancestry.com, like where my people are actually from and everything. So
yeah.
if my little yellow dots are to be believed, so I thought that made sense to kind of like tie all that in.
Oh, and did you do it in ancestry.com before?
I did. Now I'll tell you a fun story about this, Scott. So when you do ancestry, and this is for anybody that's watching, the two people that are watching, three people, thank you.
Yeah,
So for you four people, if you do
seven now. Seven.
ancestry.com, make sure you know who else in your family has done ancestry.com, because ancestry.com will tell you who is related to you even if you don't know who the hell these people are, right? Like you could find.
Oh.
So I got on it, and I'm going through, and it's like it'll ask you. It says, "Do you want to know like direct relations to you? Yes or
Hmm.
no?" And I'm like, "Yeah, what do I got to lose? Sure." So I put yes. And I'm going through it, and then it says you have one direct relation to you. 100% is your child, right?
What?
And so, caveat: I do have a daughter.
Yeah.
I do. I didn't realize she had taken the ancestry.com thing and had done it. So it was her. It was her that was on there.
Oh my
But when I saw it, I
gosh.
was like, what the fuck? Like I was freaking out. Like I'm like,
Panic
oh
button.
man,
Oh no.
yeah. I was like, what happened? I mean,
What?
there's a possibility, I was a little
Yeah.
crazy in my youth, but so I see that and I'm like sweating immediately, and I click on it and I realize that it's my daughter. And I called her. I was like, "What are you doing to me, man?" I was like, "You gotta tell me if you did ancestry.com, because it literally was like, you have a daughter, congratulations." I was like, holy shit. But yeah, so be careful with ancestry.
Oh yeah, because your heart would sink with that one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's crazy.
And I had no idea that she had taken it, like, because like it's maybe every holiday they do it, but they sell ancestry like really cheap.
Yeah,
And when I say really cheap, it's still like $120 or some shit.
yeah,
So my daughter had gotten it from her mom, my ex-wife,
yep,
and I had gotten it from my current wife,
yeah.
and it just was like the gift to get that year or
Yep,
something.
yeah. There was a couple years. Yeah, I think a few people I know got it and everything. Oh, we're
Yeah,
joined by quite a few people. Alice says, I
yeah,
haven't heard Dan's voice in ages. It's nice. Office will sleep well tonight. Brush Wizard. I had so many ideas for kill teams. Game really died off here in favor of just playing
yeah.
40K. Huh. It probably does. The smaller games probably do come and go in phases. I haven't been like
E,
plugged in too much, but like what falls in the just the local play group.
well, the smaller the smaller scale games, like they seem like a good deal to get into,
Yeah.
but nobody around here plays a lot of the smaller scale games. Like
Yep.
like Brush Wizards is saying, we were playing Kill Team. We did like an 8 week Kill Team campaign. Then after that, everyone was like, "Fuck Kill Team." That's like, I'm sick of
Yep.
this stuff, and we all went back to 40K. Necromunda's not really picked up in my area. Like none of the smaller specialist games have picked up. Like people are buying them to get the models, and then
Yep.
all the other stuff just sits around. We're
Interesting.
we're killing trees to make all these tokens and cards, and no one's playing the game.
No one's getting it. Uh,
I got to say hi to my friend Fox, who's also on here, giving
oh,
me a hard
Fox,
time.
thanks for joining us. Appreciate it. Oh, we got 7 viewers. This is already for me a hugely popular one. I get
It's a
7 viewers. I
hugely
freak out. It's like the hugest
popular,
one.
yeah. We're killing it right now.
Everybody's watching. Too much pressure. Too
We're
much
killing it. We got
pressure.
to stay entertained. I literally was like sitting on the couch earlier, like falling asleep. And my wife's like, "Don't you have like a thing you're doing?" I'm like, "Yeah, no, it's gonna be great. It'll be great. I'm gonna be so alive and electric."
That's what I always press for earlier because I'm like, I know I'll have energy earlier, and if it gets late, I might. And since I'm kind of drawing online, I'm always like nervous, like, oh, I'm gonna bomb out with this and just make some
Yeah,
horrible thing while
yeah,
everyone watches. And so I'm like, I need to be prepared.
yeah. I mean, you're going with that like a net here. It's like legit, like it could just be awful, and you just be like, all right,
Yeah,
stream's over, we're done.
that was my first live stream. It was just the worst paintover I ever did because the the program I was using to connect kept cutting out. So I'm,
Uh,
trying to get that attached and talk to people, and I never had before, and it was just so
yeah,
bad.
everything's just going to shit.
Yeah, it's all downhill. When did you get into like gaming and stuff?
Oh man, this is a classic story. So, if anyone that is watching, I know a few of you that are
Yeah.
watching right now have listened to my podcast before, and I tell this story probably every other podcast. So,
Do you? I've
uh,
heard, I only heard your podcast like twice. I listened like before, and I was
I mean,
watching.
I appreciate those 2 listens because it's kind of going downhill right now. To be honest, it's the crippling depression that's stopping me from doing it.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal, whatever. But I got into the hobby in 1988,
Oh,
87,
okay.
88. My dad is a big war gamer. He played historical stuff.
Ah.
You get to that age where you got to start playing historical stuff. So he's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
so he was doing historicals, and he actually had a gaming group, like a club,
Okay.
on base because my dad was in the army. And
Gotcha.
so on base, we had a club where these guys would play from like Saturday night till Sunday afternoon. Like they would just play all night. It's awesome.
Yeah.
And I used to go there and like hang out but I didn't really know the games very well. And also, I was like, I don't really care about Civil War guys.
Yeah.
Um, you know, Now I'm very concerned about states' rights. But back then, I was like, I don't care about these guys. But so back then I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. And then so they start playing Warhammer Fantasy Battle, and I was like, okay, I can get down with that. But I've
Yeah.
never been into fantasy like at all. Like I'm
Yeah.
always
Just the
been into like
genre, not your thing.
sci-fi. I mean, I'm a
Yeah.
Star Wars guy. I don't know if you can see all my bullshit behind me, but I'm a Star Wars guy
Yeah.
through and
Okay.
through. I love sci-fi. I got the Doctor Who shirt. I'm like a walking cliche right now. But yeah, so like I they started playing Warhammer 40K, and it blew my fucking mind. Like so, like I was like 10 or 11, like
Okay.
just blew my mind. I was like, this is the coolest stuff I've ever seen. And my dad brought the Rogue Trader 40K rulebook home,
Oh,
and I
you're
read
so
that
lucky with
thing.
the gamer parents and stuff where
Yeah,
you like did
I
stuff. Oh
I read
man.
that thing nonstop. Like you go to the bathroom, you grab a book because you're gonna look at it while you're
Yeah.
taking a dump, right? So like I would always grab the 40K rulebook, and
Yeah.
I read every inch of that book, like every
Yeah.
little note in the margin, every little like saying, and like the captions and the pictures, like absolutely everything. Like I could, if someone said, "Hey, what page is this thing on?" I'd be like, "Oh, it's like right," and I'd flip right to it. I
Right
knew that book
there.
inside and out. So and that was it, man. I was into 40K ever since then, and
Yeah.
it took a while for me to do it myself, like without my
Yeah, but
dad
you just
having to buy me
once you
models.
like it, once you think
Yeah.
it's cool, it's like whatever
Oh,
aspect that means, you're like, oh,
yeah.
I like it. So you don't know if you like want to paint models, but you still like it. So
Yeah,
it's
you're stuck into it, and
yeah,
it sticks with you, and like throughout the years, of course, like
yeah,
in school and in the military and all these other things, and I've always come back to it at some point or
yeah,
another to like just either just to kind of see, well, what's going on with 40K. I haven't checked it out in a
yeah.
while, and I would go buy a White Dwarf, and like there was that dark time when White Dwarf was like just ads like
Oh, see,
the whole
yeah,
fucking
there was
time.
the
Like I
whole
was
ads phase, and then there
yeah,
was the phase where it
garbage.
shrunk way down, and I was like,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Like it was
yeah,
just I've been through like a lot of the different phases that 40K has gone through, and I I like that I could kind of draw like upon my memories of what it used to be and have that
hmm,
be like an inspiration for the things I do now. Like I've gone back
absolutely,
to like this sort of like just cut things apart and glue them together and hope for the best, like grim dark,
yeah. It's just that's what I
30K or 40K situation. Yeah, like just make it work. Fuck it.
that seems like. Oh, Korvac, thanks for making it. My dad never played anything more than involved in Risk. See, yeah, I hear stories like this and I get all jealous because with my parents, I had to live through the '80s D&D scare, where I could have been part of some cult or something because I played D&D.
Yeah,
So
like that was like a legit thing though back then.
yeah,
Like
no, they were like, what?
the, the
So they didn't
satanic
have to
panic.
worry. Yeah, there was like a phase where I was like, what are you doing? And I was like, well, it's Dungeons and Dragons. It's not. And you get like the the monster manual, and it would have like demons in it, and
Like
I feel like,
Titanic
oh
looking
come
shit on the
on! I'm
cover.
like, I have no, I'm not into anything. It's just a game, people. So when I hear someone's parents like I played, I'm like, oh.
I was stationed in Thule, Greenland, and you know the whole thing where Greenland is snow and Iceland
Yep.
is green and all that kind of thing. So I was stationed there, and it's literally there's nothing to do there, and there's about 200 military personnel, and the lieutenant that I worked for was a very religious man. He was like very, you know,
Yeah.
he down with Jesus, and I'm like, cool, man, that's awesome. But he really wanted to get into 40K. I was
Yeah.
like, okay, like there's some shit in there that you might not like the sense you might not be
Yeah.
jiving with your sensibilities. So I had a bunch of the codexes, and I'm like, well, here's a bunch of the armies that you can choose from. And he's kind of going through them, and he sees the demon, the
Straight
demon codex,
Slanesh. I'm
and
all
he's
Slanesh.
like, oh, okay, I think I'm gonna skip this one. I was like, yeah, you might want to skip that one. He ended up playing Eldar. I think he still actually does play Eldar.
Oh
So
wow.
you know, the least satanic out of all of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just telling stories, but with math. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, it is. It is. That's what I liked about it because I liked comic books and stuff, so I was into almost like the role playing aspect, and it was like, what's the story of your army, or why is it like that, and what units, if I had whatever units I had bought, it was like, okay, you got to make do with this. Maybe you're cut off, maybe you're whatever, and then
Mhm.
as battles I would play out with friends, you kind of get a theme for your army, and if someone like won, you wanted to always put like stuff on their banner or give them more awards or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah, that's
It's
cool.
like,
Yeah,
I
I
always
like
loved
that
all the
idea.
huge banners and emblems.
I think that's because like the new rule book has like the like campaign or that's like narrative or I forget the name of it.
Yeah, yeah,
Fox behave. It was you know like you can sort of build on your army, and that comes from like the kill team rules where like you know your characters get better or they get
yeah.
wounded or whatever else happens. So like I dig that idea. But I really like the idea of having like a super personalized, like my Ghost Wolves or something. Like I can never just paint something like it is on the box. Like I just
Yeah,
it's not a thing for me. And people do that, and I think that's awesome because like they are
yeah.
attuned to the lore or whatever grabs them. Like some people like hobby vices that just paint yellow space marines all the time.
Hmm.
You know, lame, but you know that's hobby vices. But you know, I just can't do that. I want things to be my way so I can make up my own story about them and what they
Yeah,
come from and what they
I lean
represent.
I lean totally that way too. Like Space Marine chapters, it's always like, well, two unknown Primarchs. There you go. That's what I'm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Everybody's like, oh, so you can just make up whatever you want from those
Yeah,
guys.
yeah. That's what it was. And especially back in the day, it was all like they were heavy into modding and making up stuff, and it was a place to get creative. You could play in that same world.
Yeah. Do you think that's like missing now from Games Workshop? Like they used to be like, here, make a spaceship out of an underarm
A
deodorant
little.
container,
I
and
know
now it's like
why.
buy an
I think
underarm
so.
Games Workshop underarm deodorant container and make your own ship.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Yeah, just take this and do. And I think so. I would like to see a little more of that back in. And I get it
Yeah,
now. Like they're trying to sell terrain. You know what I mean? So it's like, oh, if someone's making this cool homebrew thing, no one's going to do it. But me personally, yeah, I like that. I like the make your terrain and
mhm,
just
yeah,
whatever, because not this stuff is relatively expensive in my mind. You know what I mean? And so it's like, hey, if you can make your terrain out of a cheap home stuff instead
mhm.
of spending $50, like why not?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, every time I get styrofoam, like I lose my fucking mind and I'll
Yeah.
like save it.
So okay,
Like I have a whole room full of styrofoam, and my wife's like, "What are we
this
doing
is
with
a
this?"
cool shape. It can totally be a hanger
Yep.
or a
Yep, it's always a fortress. Like
yeah.
we got a new stove, and I'm like, oh my god, look at this! It's like this cool square shape with like walls. I'm like, oh man, it's gonna be amazing. Won't even fit on the table. I have this giant castle I built that takes up a whole table. Like literally, it's like
Yeah.
2 foot tall and 6 foot wide, and yeah, it's ridiculous. And I've not used it yet. And I built it because I had all these styrofoam containers. It's just sitting there, so I gotta like do something with it. Paintover's looking good, man. I like that.
I'm trying. I want to give it that same dusty feel you were going with, and I wanted to put a little light behind them because they're still dark enough where I can make them pop a little. And I
Yeah,
know
yeah,
you
yeah.
got a cool, you got the good glow on those guns. Nice job. And what do
Dry
you think
brushing.
it took you to paint over? How long to paint one of these units? What do you go for?
Oh, dude, I paint really, really fast. So
Okay,
my
good.
thing is, I don't paint often enough unless I am getting ready for a project of some sort. So Adepticon, of course, that happens every March, and we haven't had it for like the last year, and this year is also not happening, obviously because of COVID and all these things.
Yeah,
So pretty much every year since 2013,
yeah.
I've built and painted like a whole new army.
Wow,
And so the months leading up, the 3 to 4 months leading up to Adepticon, I'll finish a whole army.
wow.
And I painted pretty much the bulk of this 1,500 points worth of these guys before Adepticon. Well, it was supposed to be Adepticon last year, 2020.
Yep.
So it was like around February timeframe last year that I finished up most of these guys. I still got plenty that are like just waiting to get like details and
Yeah,
stuff done, but like what I was bringing to the table got done in like a couple of months. And I batch paint and I just get inspired. I'll paint for like hours and hours and hours and hours, and I'll
yeah.
come
Just
up
to
and
get
everything
through
will
it.
be done. Yeah, I'm not a paint every day kind of guy. Like
No.
once or twice out of the month, I'll crank out like a shit ton of models, and I'm like, okay, cool, I got it out.
Yeah. No, that's a good way to do it. Got that done. You can play, yeah, play a little something. You can play a little something if you gotta turn it off.
I'm just like making noise here. Like,
You're loud.
can you hear that?
A little more, I think. Go a little
You want
more.
a little bit more? All right, let's see.
I
How
think
about
we'll
that?
see. Yeah,
Is
we
that good?
got it. I think we'll see if
So
sound
like
responds.
everything is like absolutely like down tuned death metal.
It's all
Like
out
that's
of
my
sync.
thing.
You're probably watching a delay with me, then a YouTube delay. Plus, you're trying to play and think.
Yeah, it's miserable.
When did you played all the guitar all the time? You've played that for a while.
Since I was like 13 or 14, something like that.
Yeah.
So I started off playing bass. So like you remember when Nirvana came out? You're about my
Oh
age.
yeah.
You remember when Nirvana came out?
Oh yeah.
And like I was like, well, that doesn't seem that difficult.
Let's do this. They seem pretty popular with the chick.
Oh my, yeah, exactly. Wait a minute, these guys are awesome. Girls,
Yeah.
heroin, do it. But so like yeah, like I remember MTV when they played music videos and they had the buzz bin.
Yeah.
That was like the thing on MTV.
Oh gosh, I haven't thought of
Buzz
that in a
bin.
while.
Yeah, and they would show all the new stuff, and then "Smells Like Teen Spirit" came on one day, and I was just like, like just like
Yeah.
fully emotionally and spiritually erect, like just like completely into it. And yeah, I begged my mom to buy me a bass because I wanted to play bass because I thought that was so cool. And
Yeah.
so I'm actually a bass player. I'm not a good guitar player, but I'm a really good bass player. Like I'll go on record as saying that. But I asked my mom to buy me a bass, and she bought me a. Remember the Sears catalog? They used to have guitars and stuff in there,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
she bought me one of those. And like, God bless her, like it was the worst instrument like ever. Like it literally just fell apart immediately. Like I was trying to learn how to play, and like just things were falling off of it, and just it just. And my mom was getting mad at me. She's like, "What did you do? You're just
Why
breaking
are
it." And
you
I'm like,
breaking it?
yeah, it's like it's literally just pieces are just falling off it. It's like not my fault. like there's like a part that holds the strings down behind
Yeah.
the nut. Usually on some guitars, like right here, and it
Yeah.
had that, and like oh, that popped off, and I was just like, well, what the fuck? So and then like the frets were uneven. Like it was just bad. It was a bad instrument, and it was difficult for me to learn on
Yeah.
instrument that bad, but I powered through it, and just kind of like did the best I could. And yeah, I was like 12 or 13 or something like that. And then I heard Primus. I don't know if you're a
Oh
Primus
yeah, I
fan.
know. Yeah.
And that changed like my whole like everything. I was
Of
like,
what
well,
music could be type
mhm.
deal.
Yeah, I was like, well, now I got to do that. Like that's the thing
Yeah.
I got to do. So like threw all my picks out the window, and was just doing everything with my fingers. I bought a 6 string and all that kind of stuff later on, so I still play that. But yeah, that like totally changed it. But now, actually, in a band, in a project, I would say project. I like to say band
You
and
are in a
project.
band right now?
Yeah. So Fox, who is actually on here right now, is the singer for my band. That's why she's on here giving me
Oh,
shit.
awesome. I'll, I'll take any viewer I could get. Awesome.
Yeah, yeah. So also Fox does some streaming herself, so I think she's also very
Okay.
like community minded on
Yeah.
Twitch and whatnot. If you ask her real nice, I'm sure she'll put a link for her stuff up there. But
Gotcha.
yeah, so my brother-in-law is actually the other musician in the band. Him and I have been playing together for a couple of years. We've been in
Oh,
different bands together. Um, he was in a band when I first met my wife, and I so desperately wanted to play with them because they were so awesome and so cool, and they never wanted me to play with them because they were strictly a 3 piece,
yeah.
and I was never really around to do it anyway. And then they kind of formed into another band eventually, and I so desperately wanted to be in that band too. And then one day they called me and they're like, "Hey, our bass player left, man. Can you play with us?" And I was like,
Yeah.
"Yes, my time has come. The time
Yes,
has
the time to
arrived."
shine.
Yeah, yeah.
What was
And I
that?
was,
What was that movie with Wahlberg, or was it Wahlberg where
yeah,
he became the
Rockstar,
lead singer of some?
Rockstar.
Yeah.
That's one of
Okay.
my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah.
Like legit, that's like what I've watched that shit like all the time. Yeah. And so yeah, and then I was playing with those guys, and then like the lead singer like moved away, and so we kind of were doing shows like maybe once or twice a year when he would come into town. And
hmm
we're like, that's not working, so let's just do our own thing. And my brother-in-law recorded a bunch of stuff, and then we realized that none of us could sing shit.
the realization settles in. Oh man,
Yeah, yeah.
there's skills involved.
It wasn't for lack of trying either. I'll tell you that. Like we were both like trying to get it in there. Hey, it's Heath. Awesome.
Heath, thanks for joining us, Heath.
Murder time in the hobby basement, or no, hobby time in the murder basement. I always say it wrong.
Yeah,
Freudian slip.
you got it. You're set up down there for like you don't even have
Oh,
like a YouTube show, and you got all the nice background, and it's all
I do.
swanky back there now.
My Christmas present. All this stuff back here.
Yeah, that's a nice Christmas present.
Yeah, it's like I do school now, and like my office is like this is my office.
Ah, gotcha.
So it's very much like trying to make it more comfortable for me to like do my
Yeah.
school down here. And I was like, I need better. Like, I had like a single bookshelf for a while. My wife was like, "That's stupid." She was like, "That's you need to do something about that." And so it happens that these things fit perfectly on the space that I have. So there you go, man. Yeah. Oh man, that's looking good. That glow is cool.
I see because you had them on there, and I always the glows get me because I'm always looking. I'm like, oh, I could, and that's why you sent me the three individual picks, and I
Hmm.
was looking at them. I'm like, how do I want to do one? I'm like, I always try to push myself. I'm like, okay, do a little more, get a little better, try
Yeah,
to.
sure.
And I'm like, well, I want to do kind of be easy when it's night. Maybe I won't have the energy, and then I start doing it. I'm like, I think I can make the three work. So I started like
No, it's amazing.
I started composing them. I'm like, I can get a good composition out of this. So I had it reversed a couple times.
Yeah, the plasma guy's reversed, isn't he?
Yeah, the
Okay,
plasma
no,
guy.
that
I
totally
reversed
works.
him so he could fit on here, and I had the two end guys swapped, but this composition was better. I was like,
Yeah,
okay, and
no, it's sick. I like that because I was sending you those pictures, and I'm like, oh, I wonder which one. I wonder which
yeah.
one he's gonna choose. And then you showed all three of them together. I was like, that's way better than I could have imagined. I was
And I
like, oh,
figured
that's
like
so cool.
maybe for some header image or I don't know something
Yeah.
for your
Oh, yeah.
squad
Thank
or
you.
whatever. I was like, all
No,
right.
man. I mean, with your permission, I would print this thing out and fucking
Oh yeah,
frame
for
it
sure.
on the wall. Did you see my Ghost Wolves stickers?
Okay, wait. I think something about him. It was a little while ago, a few weeks back. Did you get him?
Yeah, so a buddy of mine, Hugo Yera, I think that's how you say his last name. I might be wrong.
Okay.
Hugo Yera. I think it's two L's.
Okay.
Someone correct me if I'm wrong. Anyway, it's like at. I'm going to tell you what his thing is because
No, for sure. If he has,
he drew for this like challenge, like where you do like a different style
yep,
of art. So do you remember the first Clone Wars cartoon?
yes,
The first one, and it had that sort of like very very like animated
Yeah.
style, and that was what he's been doing.
Oh, okay.
So he, there you go. He was like, he messaged me. He's like, "Hey, can I draw like your Ghost Wolves? Because I have this challenge where I'm drawing these different characters that other people have developed in this style."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Yeah, fuck yeah, do it." So he drew this cool Ghost Wolf in that style. And then later on, I messaged him. I was like, "Hey man, can I make stickers out of that? Because that is amazing." He's like, "Oh man, I can
Yeah.
make it. I'll make it look better." He's like, I'll frame it up and
Yeah.
I'll put text on there." So he did the whole thing, and dude, he's awesome. He's an awesome dude. He actually
Okay,
worked
good. And I'm
animation.
gonna have to
Yeah,
score some of those stickers. I bought that army off you, right? So I bought the
yeah,
beast one, and,
yeah.
and so the whole thing, I'm like, okay, I don't have an army, and I'm like, I don't need it to be all some, masterful, craftsman work. I'm like, I just need some miniatures so I can pop some pictures.
Mhm.
And then it's still, I took one of them out. It's still all in the box. I didn't even unpack it yet. So it's
Perfect.
still in the box. I'm like, oh,
So,
I got,
so I'd
I
say you're an official hobbyist now.
yeah, no. Oh, dude, if you knew, I have a huge compressor. I got a brand new Iowata airbrush. I got
uh,
paint sets. I have like 4 boxes of miniatures. I have a huge box of 3D printed terrain, and it's
yeah,
all still
yeah.
in its box. Everything is
Oh
just still
man,
all in there, and I'm like,
dude,
uh,
I don't even want. I have like a whole shelf of like unboxed or not unboxed stuff that's still in the box that I haven't even opened yet. Still in the plastic wrap.
Fox
And,
says the glowies look really good so far. Thank you. I'm a
yeah,
big fan of glowies. Dan Gomez, thank you for joining us, and Nick.
that's that's me.
Oh, well, thank you for joining us. It doesn't make it
Well,
any
thank
less
you
true.
for being joined,
Yeah,
I guess.
thank you for making the chat look more busy. Nick.
Nick, that's my buddy Nick Spataro.
Oh yeah, Nick. Thanks for joining
So
us.
Nick had printed out for me some bears with his 3D printer, and I
Oh
wanted
yeah,
thunder wolves, but I didn't want wolves because I thought
yeah,
bears would be a lot more,
yeah,
I don't know,
yeah.
cooler than
Something
wolves.
different, and beefy, and all
So
that stuff. Yeah.
yeah, so I made these Thunderwolf Cavalry that I call Thunder Bear Cavalry on these wolves, and I added like these. I don't know if you've seen pictures of them or not. Added
I don't think I've seen those.
like saddles kind of to them, but the saddles are more
Yeah,
like saddlebags, and there's like rope and like weapons and things hanging. So, and the Marines are like standing with the bears, not they're not on the bears. And I thought that was
yeah,
more important to like the cultural aspect of like
yeah.
being more attuned to
It's
like
not the
animals.
ownership of the
Yeah,
animal
not
type of thing.
ownership.
Yeah,
Yeah. I try to get away from ownership as a concept in
yeah,
general when we're talking about Native Americans.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it is very they came out really cool, and yeah, he hooked me up with those bears, dude, and they were just I got them, and I was like, oh, this is like that was another project that I did like immediately. I got the bears, and like within like a week or two, I was like painting them and modeling and green stuffing and all these other things. So
Yeah.
I get hype, man. I get
I
hype.
see.
Oh
That's
man,
what I do too. I get hyped. I see everyone's stuff, and I'm like, and I almost live vicariously through it when I do these. I'm like, oh, this is so awesome because I know I'm not going to sit down and paint these. So I
yeah,
study them. I'm like, oh, look at what he did with that. I'm like, I love the knee
yeah.
pad on this thing, and like the one on the right. Oh man, between the helmet, the knee pad, the choice of red, you got the green grenades. It's just you got a really good, like a lot of little color things going on that I think
Mhm.
just work so well
Thank
together.
you, thank you.
Yeah,
You
there's a
know,
lot of good elements.
I used to teach a painting class in my local game store before COVID like
Oh,
shut
okay.
everything down, and people would always ask me like, like highlighting, edge highlighting, and all these other things, and I'm like, let's not even start there. Like, let's talk
Yeah,
about colors and composition,
yeah.
and what do I call it? The 60-30-10 is my thing.
For
Sixty
what?
percent of one, 60% of one main color, 30% of a secondary color, and then a 10% pop
Yeah,
of like
that's
totally
probably
different color.
about. Yeah, I probably want to
And
use something similar.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And these are things that people don't think about whenever they're just beginning to paint. They're just like, oh, I just want to paint this guy purple. And it's like, cool, paint him purple, but you need contrast. You need some sort of visual interest. What's going
Yeah,
on with the face, what kind of details, like, and people often just start painting, which I think is great, but you get a lot more mileage in the long run with
yeah,
what you're doing if you stop to think, well, what color should this be? And I'm like pulling up the color wheel on my phone, like, hey, let's look at the color wheel and let's talk
yeah.
about what colors are on there, and people were just like, "Oh, I would have never thought to look at it." But all
Yeah.
the art students are out there are like, duh, but like
No,
everybody
but
else.
still, yeah, you don't even I did art a lot and I wouldn't do it enough. And now, because I'm digital, I'll switch up here and there's the color picker. And
Yeah,
if
yeah, yeah,
something's brown, I tend to just look across and be like, oh, what's something over
for
there? You know
sure.
what I mean?
Yeah,
Be like, I'm
yeah,
gonna
and
use that and
you
then
can kind of see
we'll
the contrast immediately with
yeah. And
software. Yeah, I like.
that's the other thing. Everyone in some degrees, a lot of people, even if it's the most amateur person, I saw one, right? I saw a miniature, I was a few months back, and I did a paint over, and I
Mhm.
was like, wow, this thing looks so cool. I'm like, it's like in this grimy, it was one of the Nurgle ones, and it
Yeah.
looked so grimy. I was like, wow, this is really cool, like places it in the world. And the person tweeted after, I'm like, hey, I just snagged it online. I did a paint over. And then afterwards, he was like, well, that was my very first miniature I ever painted. And I was like,
No,
wow.
man, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
because I'm like, so it goes to show. I was like, wow, I was really impressed with it. And the person's like, I didn't know what I was doing and just putting stuff on. And I'm here,
Yeah,
I am looking at it, like, this is really cool. He's got this going on. It was molded. And I just think everyone has that kind of artistic thread. And there's
yeah,
just so much you can learn. Like, even looking at this, I'm like, I know color combo is pretty good. And I'm like, this one is just really good. I was like, I wouldn't have thought of that, so you always pick things up. I'm like, all
yeah,
right, I'll remember
yeah,
that brow, this kind of scheme. It'll stick in my mind. And I know everyone by their avatar. And then a ton of people now I just know by paint style. I've like studied it
yeah.
so much and I was like, oh, that's that. This one's that. I'm like, this is this.
I think that's like the biggest compliment though that someone can get is if I can look at your work and know who painted it just by
Yeah.
what it looks like. I think that's amazing because that means you've really settled into your style and like you're not afraid to do the thing that
Yeah.
you do. And I tell people that all the time. It's like, don't try to emulate someone else. Just do the thing that you like. If you want to paint basic colors on there and not highlight, not shade or whatever, and that does it for you, fucking do that, man. Like paint your stuff like however
I
you want.
agree with that because you'll develop your own thing instead of kind of, and it's all fine to learn from someone or do whatever you want. But if you feel like, hey, I should do this, go do it. You know what I mean? It's like go
Yeah,
try that thing, and you'll be surprised what you stumble upon.
yeah, for sure. And just like people bang their heads against the wall trying to meet some standard that
Yeah.
the standard to me doesn't like exist. It's a standard, but it's not the standard.
Hmm.
So people are like like they'll get so frustrated trying to make it look like the back of the box, and like that's kind of the running thread. And like, oh, if you listen to my podcast, we talk about that a lot, like trying to get it like at the back of the box. And I think we
Yeah.
should do things a little more basic there as well to kind of give people an idea of what it's probably going to look like if this is your first
Yeah.
model set.
Because there's a big
Yeah,
disparity
there's a
between.
huge disparity. You look at your model, you look at the box, you're like, what the fuck? What happened here? Like, I'm
Well,
all
I
like,
don't know if this is the hobby for me.
yeah, my hand's broken. Like, what's going on?
Oh wait, I got mine. So I was gonna do Necromunda, so I ordered
Yeah,
Enforcers. And I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah,
okay, maybe I had a day off. I'm like, maybe I'll look at them and I'll paint them, right? So I'm like, okay, let me get the box. I opened the box, I pulled them out. I literally laughed out loud because I saw how small the details were, and I put them back in the box. I was cracking up. I was like, there's no way I'm gonna sit here right now and paint those
yeah,
tiny,
yeah.
tiny, tiny. I just slipped it right back in. I was like, today's not the day for that.
Nope. Yeah, no, no learning today.
Yeah.
It's all a lot. A lot of it is the tools, but I think you can still get a good standard, your own
Oh,
standard
absolutely.
with okay tools. It's just a little
Oh
bit of
yeah, you don't
technique.
need to me, I know how hard it is to get me to paint a miniature, and it's literally like
Yeah,
if you get a painted miniature, it's victory. Like it's something to be
yeah,
proud of
yeah,
because it is just that. And so I'm not, I don't even get into because I know when I paint one, it's going to be a really basic, get some cool things on, make a couple
yeah,
of these. I do all this paint overs, right? I'm staring at colors. I pick them for this. I get paralysis when I think about a paint scheme on my miniatures for real. I've done how many
like
hundreds of paint schemes have I gone over, and I
that's
think about
funny.
making a paint scheme and I get all paralyzed. I'm like, oh, this
Yeah,
one looks stupid. Where do I put it? I'm like, I don't know. Like, I and I know if I started to paint one, it would want to go complete clown show because I would be like, hey, this knee pad should be a color, and then what about this button, and then what about this thing? I
yeah.
want to color each thing, and it'll be like all obtuse looking, and
Yeah,
so
sometimes
yeah.
there's too many details to
Yeah,
contend.
I know that's what's going to happen with me. I'll be wanting to do it all instead of being more general because it's a miniature. You kind of just simplify things and make it look sharp.
Yeah, yeah. But this comes with time. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, these paintovers are all amazing. Like I'll tell you that right now, dude. I'm a huge fan of your work, and like
Thank
every
you.
time you do a paintover, I have a grin on my face, and I'm just like, these are so. But you didn't just like wake up one day and was like, I'll be amazing at paintovers. Like you've done a
No.
lot of these, obviously. Like you said, you still grow. The first models that I painted myself, the first Space Marines I ever had, were like bright green.
Yeah.
Like I don't know why. Like I found this bright green color, and I think it was like Raul Partha paints. And I'm
Yeah.
super dating myself here with Raul Partha paints. But
Yeah.
I found this green that I just was in love with, and I painted everything this green for like years. Like no matter what game system, like 40K,
We're going green.
Warhammer, BattleTech. I was like, all right, green mechs, everything's green. Like because I just loved this green, and I
Yeah.
couldn't get away from it. And then I look back on that now. Like every once in a while, I will find one of those minis in my
Yeah.
box of junk, and I'll go, "What was I thinking?" Like, this is
the the first ones I did, the first Marines I did, I had, and it was, yeah, it was Testers paints too, and it was
oh
like no, I don't know if it, no, no, no,
yeah,
it wasn't Testers. I did the regular paints back then, but it was purple and black on Space Marines. I did purple and black was mine, and I was like, and it was of course so gaudy because it was like a deep, like rich purple, and then just black.
yeah,
So
yeah. And you can't see the tester just like obscures all the details. It's so thick.
yeah,
Dude, like I remember my dad had painted some stuff with Tester's paint. And this is a story actually I told on one of my podcasts, and it's one of my favorites, so I'm going to tell it again because that's what
you're
we're doing
allowed. I never heard it,
here.
so it's perfect.
So my dad, we had this game, and it was a board game, and it was a D&D board game. Like it was from TSR, which was
Yep,
doing D&D back in. Again, I'm dating myself, and it was a TSR board game, and it was D&D themed. And my dad had picked up some lead models and had replaced the little pegs or whatever
yep,
with these cool lead models as the models that you used. And one of them was a woman that was like basically naked and had like a blanket or something kind of falling off her. Or
yep.
maybe it was her dress. I don't know. Anyway, she was naked and there's boobs, and I was like 10, going whoa, like freaking
Yeah.
out. And so my dad had painted her with light skin tone
Yeah.
tester because she was naked, and so she
Yeah.
was just one color. She was just like this pink skin tone. But over time, after playing the game so long, the paint started to rub off. So what
Yeah.
part of the model do you think the paint rubbed off of
Oh,
first?
totally. Because you would
Her,
grab,
it was
yeah.
her nipples. Her nipples got paint rubbed off of them. So she was this skin tone naked model with these silver nipples, and it just cracked me up every time. Like
Yeah.
it was the funniest, and we never tried to repaint it. We're just like, well, that's just how she is now. She's just got this.
Yeah. She's got the silver nips.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I wonder if
Look
he
what
still
my
has.
dad's into. Look what my
Yeah,
dad's
like
into. Wait, what?
let's not play this game. So
Yeah.
I wonder if my dad still has that game. My parents don't throw anything away. They have to have it somewhere.
Oh, see,
And if
you're
we could
lucky
find
too.
that model,
I
I'd
got
be.
the classical thing where my parents threw away some of my stuff, a
Oh,
bunch of my,
that sucks.
yeah, like, and it was my good Commodore 64. I had all these old
Wow.
ones. Yeah,
Yeah.
I had the tape cassette games from like the 70s. Like I think it was like Telengard. Like I had some of this really cool old stuff because I was like buying it right when they all first came out and everything for the Commodore then. It was like all gone.
Dude, that's my parents don't. My mom, I should say my parents. My mom doesn't throw anything away. My dad,
Yeah.
he has no control over what my mom does, like whatsoever.
Yeah.
So it's very much like, okay, they literally have like a storage shed
Yeah.
that is like the land of forgotten items. Like you go in there, and my mom like knows where everything is at. You can't
Yeah.
get to anything, but she knows where everything is at. Like she's like, oh yeah, it's in the thing's in this box over here, and like she has to move like 50 other boxes to get to it. And every time I go visit, I'm trying to get my dad's Rogue Trader rulebook off of him, and he doesn't
Oh.
know exactly where it's at. And I was like, I'm gonna find that book, and my mom's like, well, I think it's in like this quadrant over here in the
This
storage.
section.
Yeah, so I can go over there, and I'm just like, so have you guys gotten into any of those books? Maybe like I'll legit just be like, you better give me this book, Dad. I'm taking it.
It's
I want
part. I want this in the inheritance.
it. Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, the dude has so many models. Like he's the guy that loves buying models, and
Yeah.
has hardly ever played a game of 40K in like
Oh, that's, I know
30
he's
years.
still. Yeah, because they just like that's so interesting
Yeah,
too.
loves buying them. Just
Yeah,
opens them up, looks at them, goes, "Well, that's cool," and then puts them in his closet. Like, just had literally a closet just stacked full of like models and just from all different kind of games. He sees a game he likes, and he just wants to collect all of the stuff from it,
yeah,
which is totally cool to me.
yeah, yeah.
That's
Huh.
kind of what I
Dude,
do.
you're into quite a bit. You got, I laughed. I'm like, oh, and when I was thinking, I had a couple of guests, like it was all impromptu. I kind of had a couple people on. I was like, oh, I'll do it again. And I remember your stuff. I'm like, well, he had cool hot peppers. I like the trees in his house. He plays airsoft. I'm like, 40K. I dig this dude. I'm like, there's something going. He's got like a lot of interest that I have. So I'm
I
like, let's have him on.
I'm just emotionally stunted. Somewhere around 14 or 15 years old, I just said I'm
See,
going to stop
it's the same
maturing.
with me. That's what all this was about with me. I was like, I'm not getting any younger. And
Yeah,
what? You know what I mean? I better have some fun or do what I should have been
yeah,
doing. You know what I
yeah,
mean? I'm like, I better. It's like you reach that certain age. It's like, whoa, man, more of my life is like behind me than ahead of me. So I better pick up the
yeah,
pace.
yeah.
But I'm still
I tell my
acting
wife
like
all
I'm
the
a
time. I was like,
child in my mind. Like I'll take work and that stuff seriously, but what amuses me and what I want to do is so childish. You know, I'm
yeah,
like
yeah.
I want to paint on like little miniatures and just be left alone. I'm like I just want to play in this imaginary world in my mind.
I tell my wife all the time. I was like, I got 2 good years left in me, so don't get too attached, man. Like, but look, the things that like keep like the things that keep you young though is like having these hobbies, and I don't know why there's such a notion that this hobby is like a child's hobby, and I get that it does appeal to children, but it also
Yeah,
appeals to the inner child. But there's also a lot about this hobby that is like more like therapeutic and more
yeah.
relaxing than people give
I
it credit.
agree. It's you're painting it. It's a creative outlet. It's a
Yeah,
creative
yeah,
outlet, and you can totally tap into it and get a lot of different things out of it. In my mind.
yeah, and for adults, that's huge because
Yeah,
life is stressful and awful.
stress with work, especially these days. It's like, whoa, man,
The
everything.
world is grim and dark in reality, so let's
Yeah,
build plastic men and paint them.
let's paint some grimdark.
Yeah, just have fun with it. And it's like you're 100%. It's an outlet, and adults need outlets and children need outlets. But I would argue that adults probably need more outlets with the added stress of families
Yeah,
and jobs and all
yeah,
these other things. So um, I hate that people make fun of it or think it's something silly or immature to do. But when I tell them, and this is I'm going to get deep on you, Scott. Like I'm going to tell you
go for it. You can get deep. We can go into deep
when
philosophical on the
when I
thing.
got back when I got back into 40K, and this was 10, 11, actually almost 11 years ago now,
Yeah,
is when I had stopped drinking because I was a terrible, horrible, dirty alcoholic type
yeah.
person. Like I literally went to like a 28-day program, and they're like, "Hey, your liver's like turning into poop. You got to stop doing this."
Oh
And
wow,
I detoxed. I did like the whole thing, like literally like shakes, and just I had a rough time with
that's the hardcore version then.
yeah.
Yeah,
So I came back home, after that, and I was like, what can I do to keep my hands busy, keep my mind busy?
yep,
I was like, well, let's see what's going on with 40K, and then I just started buying all kind of shit and painting the hell out of it,
yeah,
just painting and painting, and that helped me get through those first like year or so of like not drinking anymore, like getting
yeah. Because
over.
it occupies you when you get your mind on something,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
that's really
yeah. That level of focus, like it quiets your mind because you're
it
just thinking
does.
about the little. Let me get his little eyeball.
Yeah, when you're no, for real, when you look at those tiny details on those
Yeah,
whatchamacallit models, it's like, oh gosh,
it's like I can't drink because my hands.
no, yeah, I won't even be able to like see. You get that little
Uh,
micro blur, and yeah, you're like
yeah,
all
yeah.
over.
So I mean, I credit the hobby like 110% with helping me get better, get
Yeah,
on the wagon, and I've been sober for like 11 years now, and
wow, good
I
for
don't want to.
you.
Thank you. I don't want to say that now it's only because of 40K, but that
No,
was
no,
like
it plays a
stepping
role.
stone that got me to the point where I was able to like do something other than sit around wanting to drink and go to the
Yeah,
bar, and it's literally just been it was what the best thing I could have ever done. Like you got to get a
oh, good.
hobby.
Yeah, and I'm sure it helps quite a few people. What is the
Yeah,
Forge of Mars? You
yeah.
need it. It's an
He's
escape
talking
from.
about. He said Robin Williams got in the hobby of miniature painting when he got out of rehab. I 100% believe that. Love Robin Williams. Terribly sad when he passed, but dude, it's so therapeutic,
Yeah,
and people that want to make fun of you for it don't understand that there's so much more to it, you know. And but people are afraid of stuff, and a lot of the people that I know that are kind of give it shit are the ones that also are kind of like, well, I am kind of interested, but I don't
yeah.
want people to make fun of me, and it's like,
I guess
shut up,
I'm so, see.
it's
It's
fun.
weird. I'm so old to be like disconnected or like I don't know
Yeah,
enough people where anyone would
yeah,
make fun of me for it.
yeah,
You know, I'm like, and plus I've been in the comics and everything for so long. I'm like, oh,
sure,
whatever. Like to me, it's so changed where now it's popular. It's a more popular and
yeah,
accepted thing, and
yeah,
which I'm like, okay, that's cool. I'm like, you can get some because when I was getting into it, it was the most obscure. No one knew it, and I laugh because I would make friends with the most anybody who was into anything with a comic book
yeah,
or
yeah,
I remember we had this like transfer student and it was like Japanese and I was so young and she didn't even fully speak English, but then she would draw the cartoon characters and draw the stuff. And so it was like
yeah,
friends. We
yeah.
were like, I
That's
can't even speak
amazing.
any
I
language,
love
but we're
you.
totally friends. Yeah, it's like you know something about something with this. It's like, okay, it's it. There's only
Yeah,
us and then whoever else did it. So it was always like such a small group of 3 or 4 people. And I don't know how it is in school and stuff now, but back then it could be like really clicky, you know what I mean? So it was like that. It was
yeah,
like, oh, there's only those couple people who like play and are into it. And
yeah.
I was
Such a
always
small
into
community.
drawing and that kind of stuff, D&D.
Yeah, the community's definitely grown, and it's like you hit it on the head. Like it's more acceptable now to be a nerd. Like nerd culture is like the
Yeah,
cool thing, right? And I'm here for it 100%. I think it's awesome. I think about like growing up, like as a teenager and as a young
yeah,
adult, like kind of having to hide some of this stuff away and be
yeah.
like, okay, I don't want anybody to know that because I kind of want to have sex at some point in my life.
Yeah, and I
you
don't.
know?
Thankfully, I don't think it's like that. I think now, and especially now,
Oh, now, yeah,
yeah, and people, there's so much more exposure and showing your art, and
yeah,
it's so different. We had just touched on it briefly. I was like, I was not cut out for like the digital age, and hey, we're gonna have a cam and live web show, and let's talk
hmm
to everybody. That's so not me, and I think that was also part of the I'm not getting any younger, where I was like, just do it. What are you,
yeah,
you know what I
yeah.
mean? It's like, what are
What
you
do you got to
doing?
lose, man? Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I'm
and
like,
it's fun. It's fun as shit. Like when I started my podcast, it was very much the same thing. It's like I have fun talking to people. And I'll tell you what I don't enjoy is editing, which is why it's been so hard for me to get the podcast done because I got these
yep.
2 hours plus long conversations and I gotta like chop them down. And I'm like, why? And mostly it's just me like going off on these fucking wild tangents where like I'm just like I'm so far away from like the point of the conversation. So, but that's on me. It's on me. But it's so that's why the streaming thing is very appealing right now, and I think a lot of people are doing it because you don't really have to edit. You just get some good,
Well, that's what
guests or
I thought.
content,
I'm
and
like, so I don't know how many I did, but at first I didn't even listen to any of them back. I was like, I don't even want to know how bad it was. I don't even want to face it. I'm like, I'll let everyone else know I'm a clown and
yeah,
then I'll
yeah,
listen
yeah,
to it and deal with it.
yeah. Oh man, is there a hair on this guy's face? Look at his jaw. Like zoom in. Is there a hair?
Oh, is that or is that just
I think that's a cat hair.
yeah.
Like, so I have two cats and a dog, and
Oh.
anybody that has pets knows that pet hair just gets all over your stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
A friend of mine, he does micro photography or macro, where they're taking
yeah,
real small stuff and it'll be like rocks and that and everything. I always laugh. I'm like, you got a bunch of pubes in there, and it's not pubes because they're microscopic, small, but it's just a little dust in the air. And I'm like, oh,
yeah.
you're gonna have a thing where it's like spot the pube in your rocks.
Microscopic pubes.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
like, you
they
got
just make
pubes
their
in
way
your
onto everything.
pictures. He's like, oh,
Yeah.
he's like, you can't stop, you can't help it, man.
Do not take photos of your food.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, it's like my cats. They love the brushes. Like I have to hide the brushes because they're just like,
oh,
oh,
do they?
I'm gonna
Yeah,
fucking
I
eat
could.
that. Like I don't know why they're into it. They're just like, let's do it. Nice Toki hair. Yes, Toki the cat, Toki the bunny. Um, just yeah, hair gets on everything, man. It's impossible. Oh man, it looks so good. Those lasers, dude, epic.
That'll be cool. I'm gonna blur a little bit. I uh I take the edges and I kind of like his hand right now. I'm just
Mhm.
adding like motion blur. So you just add like
Yeah,
some of the pieces are moving. Yeah. So he's
yeah,
not just standing still. And so I put some motion on a few spots like that usually.
yeah. That's great. What program is this that you use?
This is on an iPad. This is Procreate, which I love.
Procreate. Okay.
Yeah, I always talk about good things about it because it's just it works for me and it's
Hmm.
I've worked on PC and I've used Painter and
Hmm.
Photoshop and
Yeah, yeah.
because Apple's a closed system or whatever, they hammer out all the issues so it runs smooth. So it's just
That's
like it's a
yeah. I
nice
get
smooth
that.
running thing, and it costs $10. I'm like even
Okay.
the compared to a lot of the other programs, you pay $10 and you get this awesome program. So I'm like, all right,
Yeah. No, that's excellent, dude. Like, it's just it blows my mind every time. Like, whenever you do your time lapse videos, and I
like
watch them, and then I'm just like, oh, certainly he's done. He's doing another thing. He's doing another thing. Like, like every time you add a layer, I'm just like, oh my god, he's doing another thing.
the what I watched. I watched
Blows
this
my
back.
mind.
Good. I watched this back on a
Uh huh.
4K TV.
Oh
And
yeah.
so I watched it on my phone. I'm like, oh man. I'm like, I don't know if people are gonna watch. I'm like, my screen is so tiny, you can't see anything.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like, let me just see what it looks like on a 4K. I put on the 4K and I was like, okay, I really dig this. It was cool to watch. I'm like, I don't get all mystified by my work like I'm some great artist, but
You
I'm
should
like
though. It's
damn it,
great.
I'm like, this is kind of cool.
Yeah.
I watched this thing and I did okay in the conversation and I was just like, all right, I think I can handle this. I'm like, I like my own work, so that's good.
Yeah.
Like usually
No, that's
I'm
perfect.
like always skeptical of my work. I'm like, eh.
Yeah, that's great, man.
Forge of
No,
Mars,
like,
thanks for making it. This, what do you say? Oh yeah, the Robin Williams. The story is that Robin Williams got into the hobby miniature painting when he got out of rehab.
yeah, yeah. King
Correct.
Crimson is also here.
Oh, thank you. I've seen you interact on Twitter with me. I
He loves the time
appreciate
lapse
that.
videos.
Yeah,
I too
that's
love the time lapse videos.
man, I'm glad there was I had a whole fear thing with that too because I do so much erasing. It's like
Hmm.
I'll watch other people draw and it's like, oh, they just draw and it's like this nice line. It always seems like
Yeah,
it comes out and they really know what they're doing.
they
Where
never
me, it's
mess
like I'm
anything up.
hacking
Yeah,
around. I'm like, well, let me just like grinding away with like 1,000 lines, and if I put 1,000, one of them's bound to work, And it's like
yeah,
just
yeah,
hacking out. I was like, oh god, I'm gonna look so amateur, and I'm like, whatever.
yeah, yeah. Do you ever do like paintovers with like human subjects?
I only did a couple. I
Uh-huh.
did what was this? This was a commission. If I could find
Look
it.
at all that awesome stuff. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I see one or two up there.
Oh yeah, there was a couple black and whites. Where was the one? I'm
Yeah,
trying to
you scroll
find.
past them.
Yeah, I said there's two black and white faces, but there's one full portrait that I had a lot of fun with.
Oh,
Oh, this one.
oh yeah. Okay, yeah. I've seen that. Yeah, I've seen that one. That's
It's just
awesome,
like so. It's one of them. I'm like, all right, man, I
dude.
got an
It.
idea.
I hope that dude has that printed out
He does.
in
He has a
on
big.
the
He's got a big
big
version of it.
on his in his dining room.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be the shit. I got to commission you to do something like that for me because that's awesome. That's
That's
the
so
best.
funny.
Cool. Yeah, man. I'm gonna
That's
hit you up. It's commission time,
for
buddy.
sure.
Let's do this thing. I am very much one of those people that wants to pay artists to do things. I've known so many cool artists like in the course of me doing the Lonely Havocs thing and
Yeah.
like generating artwork and like I've got the t-shirt things and all these
Yep.
different designs and just hitting up artists I like and going, hey, can you do something for me? I want to make stickers or put them on a shirt or whatever.
Yeah. And that's what I do. So me, same with me, and especially like I have people coming getting commissions from me, and like they'll
Hmm.
donate to coffee and my coffee and
Hmm.
Patreon, and so and I'm just that type too, where I like it's like if I'm having fun and no one's around with you, well then who cares? It's like what are you
Yeah,
partying by yourself? You know what I mean?
yeah.
So if I'm getting someone like, oh, I like I mentally like and I freelanced and done art for a long time, so I know all
Hmm.
about like trying to make money with it. But
Yeah,
so
yeah.
part of me is like you set it aside. It's like okay, I can buy some coffees once in a while and hopefully help inspire someone else because when they came to me, they were super inspiring. You know what I mean? Like my first
Yeah.
Patreon, I was like, oh my gosh, you know, like it's possible. And so, like you take like just little things like that, like greatly changed how I did it. And I was always aware of that, but it makes you even more aware. It's like, okay, I wasn't big on social media or any of that stuff really, you know.
Hmm.
So it took a lot
Hmm.
to get used to. And you see all these people out there, and it's like, wow, you can do good for someone and help them like just with that, like a click or
Yeah.
a coffee or you know
Yeah.
whatever it is. And so I commissioned it like way in the background. I started kind of like developing like a world. So I got like a concept artist, you know, to do some of the concept stuff and hired to get a
Hmm.
little written background and that. And I was just like, I want to develop something, so I'll just do, you know, get some stuff done. You know what I mean? Like, and I know right now I wouldn't do it. You know, I'm kind of focused on this, and it's like, what's the old saying? They say, dance with the girl who brought you. So like, it's like if people like paintovers or whatever, it's like, hey, just you know, stick with that and you know,
Yeah.
work some stuff, and then don't try to, you know, whatever. You know, I don't want to. I'm like, I'll slowly build out, you know, and try to do some stuff because I don't. If someone commissions me, I'll send a print to them, but it's not like even if I had someone's permission for the miniatures, I'm not going to sell it because you're going to run afoul of GW, you know, if you're like selling prints and
Sure.
all that
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
So it's
That's
like,
kind
I
of
don't,
a sticky area, isn't it?
yeah. So I want to get, you know, make some of my own stuff that I can sell and all that. And you know, I'll get to that point. Oh,
No, I
Fox,
mean,
thank you. You said those are awesome. There's some good ones. I'll do a couple time lapses. I'll show you this one. Just to do the quick, there's where I got them all and moved them around.
yeah, arranging. What do we do? What do we do?
Mm-hmm.
That's so wild, man.
I loved that was a thing. I never watched it even on like PC until I think I got this iPad in 2018 and in Procreate it instantly lets you do this. You just hit time
Oh,
lapse
really?
and you get to watch. Yeah. And
Well,
I was
no
like,
shit.
"Oh, that's kind of cool." Yeah. And so it's just like, "Oh, you hit time lapse and you rewatch it." And I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, it's kind of cool." You know, I was like, "This ain't bad."
Yeah, it's just built in.
Yeah.
What a
For
time to be alive.
$10.
What a time to
I
be
know.
alive.
See,
I
that's
tell
what
you.
I say. I'm like, "Wow, like in the whole span of humanity, you're such a small section of it. Like, I mean, the rest of it
Right.
was probably so bad, man. It was so
Right.
bad. I'm like, I talk to my friends. I'm like, hey, at least we lived in the best time. You know, it's like,
Yeah, did we? Did we?
well, yeah. I mean,
I wonder.
totally. But I
That's
like
so
this
cool,
one.
man. Yeah, there's so much good. Yeah, I so amazing.
I love that one. I was gonna, and this is one I like did on a rush for free, and in what I want to do, and I always want to go back on these is
Yeah.
I I
Keep
want
tweaking.
to like form the what is it like the Zinch bird kind of do it like this, like that's his head or something, and then do
Yeah,
the
yeah, like
wing in
in the
that
smoke.
fire.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I wanted, you know, with the yellow, just draw that out a little bit so it's kind of like this, you know, like spirit flame kind of deal.
Yeah, I get that.
I know. So I end up doing these, and I always want to half go back.
That just has like such awesome movement and stuff to it.
I know some of these because that's the thing too. I mean, what I'm working off of, like you got some of the best model makers in the world making dynamic stuff, and then
Yeah,
you got
yeah.
some incredible painters, and then you got, you know, so it's like, okay, you're trying to just kind of go with the flow of what they have in this stuff.
That's so cool. That glow blows my mind for the plasma and the laser
I
gun.
love the. I'm a sucker for the glow. I'm
Gotta
like,
have the
apparently
glow.
I'm all like smoke, glow, and glitter. Like
But
that.
that's
That's
the
like
important stuff.
that's my shtick. I'm like, that's my shtick.
Give the people what they want. That's what they
Yeah, they
want.
want
Smoke,
smoke,
glow, and
glow, and
glitter.
glitter. Give it to
You just that's just like my prom night.
them.
You gotta have it, man. Doesn't even have to be in equal proportions, just as long
Yeah,
as they're all represented.
yeah, that's funny.
And
Yeah,
it's so cool because like I I'm imagining the photo that I gave you, and I think that was
yeah,
a pretty decent photo. And then like I'm watching you as you do the layers and adding like the more light because the light's coming from behind them and all these
yeah,
kind of things, and it makes them look so much more real. Like
yeah,
it starts to blur that line between it's a model, it's a real photo. Maybe at first
yeah.
glance you'd be like, is
You can
that
tweak
real?
certain
Like,
areas.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, get the uncanny valley going. We're like, is that real? Like,
Yeah.
is that? It's hard to tell, but because all the effects and everything look so
Yeah, especially
realistic.
when you see it small on some of them,
Hmm.
it's like, oh yeah,
Hmm.
it catches your eye. And it's like, hey, what is that?
Yeah, yeah, and that lighting is just a huge part of it.
I know I learned a lot from lighting and I mean, I've done well over 300 now in less than a year.
Whew.
So I was like cranking
Yipes!
away at them.
Yeah, you are. Damn. How long? How long does it usually take you to do one of these?
It's a mixed bag. So the free one, I intentionally when I did this, it was intentionally like, okay, if you're doing a bunch of free ones, you cannot. I'm a dilly dally artist, man.
Yeah,
I
just
want to
take your
look
time.
at
Yeah.
it and do I like that? Do I not like that? Let me drink
Yeah.
some coffee and think about it. And then my natural thing is I might draw for a half hour, but then stop for a half hour and kind of let
Hmm.
my mind refresh type
Sure.
deal.
Yeah. Yeah. You
So
gotta like get some fresh
I
air,
would
so to speak.
Yeah, I would say in general, some of these are like 2 hours, and then the commission ones are usually like anywhere between five, sometimes plus. Like I've gone, like my hourly wage on somebody's probably like a nickel an hour. You're like sitting there, and
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
it's
Don't
principle. It's like I will
never do
not
the
quit
math.
on this. My mind
N-
has something it wants to do, and I will fight this. And so you're in the nickel an hour territory.
yeah.
But
Never
no,
do the
so
math.
no, and I had to grind it, and so part of that was like
Hmm.
work on like the fear of failure. Like, okay, if you're streaming it and people are going to watch you, you'll
Yeah.
overcome like what you're going to put out a bad paint over, and then what? Oh
Yeah.
no, I was like, no one
Yeah. My career
cares.
is
It's like get
ruined.
over yourself. Like at a certain point, I just realized I'm like, get over myself. It's like who cares? Like if you do a paint over and everyone laughs, like okay, who cares? Whatever.
So King Crimson says, I ended up hearing about AE here from a channel called Tabletop Minions. Saw what he did
Oh,
and was
thank
like,
you.
I need this. Yeah,
I
legit.
really appreciate
I think
that.
I know Tabletop Minions. Have I been on? I feel like I might have been on. Have I been on their show?
Um,
I might have been.
he's one of the podcasts. He does YouTube, and I actually listen to his
Maybe.
stuff. He
Maybe
has
not.
a nice varied range of like just topics, and he kind of
Hmm.
I didn't do much YouTube, and when I got into like the hobby, at all, I didn't really search
Hmm.
for much of anything.
Yeah.
Maybe a few
Yeah.
instructions on something, but I wasn't watching videos. And he happened to shout me out on his like end of the year show. I was like, oh, how cool, And so,
That's
and
cool.
that
Yeah.
got me, I don't even know, it got me like a couple hundred viewers probably on my YouTube. I was like,
Oh,
wow.
that's yeah. That's perfect. Like all
Yeah,
you
I was
need is
like,
a
thank
well
you very much.
placed shout out every once in a while. The whole of history of success is always based on who you know. I mean,
Yeah,
that's just that's the truth of the matter.
it
But
is.
it totally helps to get that little push from someone
Yeah.
that's got a little bit of coverage or a little bit of
And
an
I mean,
audience.
I did not like, because I'm old school internet. So internet to me
Mhm.
is almost still don't put your credit cards online.
Yeah, yeah,
Everyone's a
yeah, yeah.
complete like,
You're
especially the
still on
earlier
dial
ones,
up.
like complete whatever. And so, you're coming in, it's like, oh gosh.
Yeah, you still got the dial. Yeah. Like,
Oh gosh, the good old
Mom, get off the
dial-up
phone.
days.
I'm trying to get on the internet.
Yeah, oh gosh. I'm so old now. It's so wild to like think of some of that stuff.
Dude, I remember the first computer I had. It had a 12 gig hard drive, and
Yeah.
I remember thinking that was so gigantic that I would
Yeah.
never fill it like with anything. I was like, oh man, I'll never fill this. Like, you put so much porn on here. It's amazing.
Clip after
But
clip.
yeah, clip after clip. But then then the resolution got better of that, and it just
Yeah.
took up more space. So here we are.
It was an arms race with all that for
it
sure.
was. It really was. Oh man, I remember like just that sound of like dialing in to the internet. It's so like if I hear that now, I just get that feel. Takes me
Yeah.
back.
That's what I'll do that a lot with this stuff, and I find
He said, "Oh God, the dial-up noise." Yeah, yeah. Like the time. It was a time in our history that can never be forgotten.
yeah, King Crimson, Uncle Adam, chill guy. It seems. Yeah, yeah. He's just caught a couple of his shows, and I joined his Patreon actually, and do the other every other I think Sunday show, and he just has one
Hmm.
for his members or whatever.
Very cool. Yeah.
There's a
Okay. I
couple.
don't think I've been on his show. I've been on a lot of shows, and I kind of lose
Yeah, you
track.
seem. I don't know from there. I'm like, oh, he's. you've like a lot of people have talked to you, and I've seen you on different, not seen, I think I've heard the podcast a few times and just seen you get
Yeah,
tweeted around. I'm like, you've probably
yeah.
been in the community for a while now.
I just like being on people's shows. That's all
I
I
can
have to
dig it.
offer.
No, it worked. I met some cool ones. I didn't know. So the guest thing, right? I I used to use Streamlabs and it
Hmm.
wasn't working out for me. So then I tried this other Switcher Studio Pro, which I'll totally plug because it works.
Hmm.
And I used that and I noticed it had like, oh, you can invite a guest, and I'm like, oh man, I wasn't used to like draw alone Bob Ross style and talk about
Uh-huh.
stuff. So I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
heck
yeah,
someone
yeah,
out,
yeah.
like, let me try it. I tried it. They came on. I'm like,
Totally
hey, that
works.
worked simple, and it was
Yeah,
someone
totally
to,
works.
yeah. And I was just like, I go with it.
Yeah, I love it, man. I just love any opportunity to talk to people. Like it really picked up when I did the Warhammer Hero thing, and everybody wanted to like talk with me and chat with me and stuff. So I was
Okay.
like, yeah, let's do it, man. I'll be like, you got a show, I'll be on your show. Like I don't even care. Like what are we
See,
talking about?
that's
Like it
such
doesn't
a
even have to
good
be Warhammer.
quality. See, I wish I was more like that sooner. That's such a good quality where you're just like, hey, yeah, I'll go do it and put like, especially in this day and age, you kind of
Yeah.
have to get out there. You know what I
Oh
mean? It's like
sure.
not for all things, but it's like if I'm doing
Yeah.
art, it's not the day and age where you just sit in your room and do art and set. It's like you
Hmm.
got to be out there and push it and talk to
Yeah.
people and
Yeah.
so it's like, all right,
Yeah, I mean, if you want any type of like exposure or following at all, then because people want to, it's the age where people want to know all about you, the
yeah,
artist, like the art relevant, but the artist is
hmm,
even more. So like people want to know like what your deal is. What did you have for breakfast? How did you get
yeah,
so
I know.
good?
See,
What shoe
it's
size do you
so
wear?
different to me. You know what I mean? I'm so not used to that. So I'm like, oh, I'm having fun. Like everyone's been so warm to me in the community and that stuff. I'm like, hey, I'll whatever. If I don't do it now, where when am I gonna do it?
So King Crimson is what was your aim? SNS. Don't mean to take over chat. No, you're not taking over the chat. But like, I remember typing. I was on Google. Shit, it's not Google. What the hell am I talking about? Yahoo Chat.
Yahoo Chat before
Yahoo
the
Chat.
bots. Were you on Yahoo
Yahoo
Chat
Chat.
before the bots?
Yeah, I was on Yahoo Chat before the dinosaurs died out. Like, I literally was like on
That
that
was
shit all the time.
that was one
That's
of the
actually.
most amazing places before all the bots came in. There was
Oh
actually
yeah, I
good
got.
combo, and you can meet people into like weird niche things that were like really
Mm-hmm.
technical and from around the world. And it was a magical place, and then the bots
Yeah,
came.
that's actually how I met my wife. I met her
Really?
on Yahoo Chat. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
I I we were I was this is like in 2002 2001 whenever
Yeah.
that was that we actually first met on Yahoo Chat, and I had just randomly talked to her in a room one day, and I put her on my friends list, and for like
Yeah.
forever I was like I don't remember who this person is, and I
Yeah.
was cleaning out the friends list. It's just like delete people, like delete delete delete. I don't know who you are, and I shot her a message. I'm like, hey dude, when did we talk? And she's like, I don't remember. And so we
Yeah.
just started talking and then hit it off. And I ended up going to, actually, she ended up coming to meet me in
Oh,
Chicago.
that's cool. Good for
Yeah.
yeah.
I was stationed in Florida at the time and I actually had to go work in Chicago. And
Okay.
she was in St. Louis where we live now. And she's like, well, I guess I could drive up there and meet you. And I'm like, yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, when
Like, so,
something goes good like
yeah.
that, you're like, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's like, oh,
So that was it. She fucked that one up.
yeah. She's stuck with you now. I got these toy figures all over.
Yeah. What's in that room? Don't go in there.
Don't-
Like body checking her out of the way.
yeah, like
Walk out here.
not yet,
Not
not
yet. Not
yet.
yet.
I'm not-
Let's get this marriage license signed first.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
like before
My
you go
kid,
into
I'd
that
be like,
room.
what dirty secret does he have? What is
Yeah.
he into? That
Yeah.
it's miniatures.
Hope he's not cheating on me.
Yeah,
Leaves the house every Thursday.
yeah.
I don't see him for hours.
Where's he
I'm at the
going? What
game
is he
store.
doing?
Yeah. I'm at the game store with the
Yeah.
boys, making pew pew noises with my little plastic man.
Yeah. Oh, it's even worse than I thought.
Yeah, yeah. It might be too early to say divorce, but let's talk about this budget situation.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah, no
my
doubt.
gosh. Dude, yeah, the idea that once you like start streaming or start like doing videos of yourself, you kind of, I hate to say it, like you kind of become like public property, and
Well,
people just
yeah,
want more and more, and like especially if it's like something, you know, good,
yeah.
people just want to know like everything there is to know about it, and like fandom is like this like legit thing where people just want to know like every little detail of all these little things, and
I
it's
know. I'm
like,
so not used to it. It's because I
yeah,
am old. I'm still not used to.
you're only as old as you feel, man. Like,
I know,
uh,
but if this is, I'm so laughing. I'm like, hey, if this doesn't all work out, it's gonna be like, welcome to Old Man Streaming, where I'll help
yeah,
you connect to online. I'll like help all the seniors connect and have their YouTube channels. Like, come on,
meet singles
seniors,
in
it's
your
not too
area.
late to start. And that's what bothers me about like my whole like life journey is like I didn't I could have been one of the first online with anything. I was on the web
Yeah,
programming
yeah,
basic
yeah.
in the 70s. You know what I
Oh
mean? So I
wow,
could have been on
okay, yeah,
YouTube. I did art, could have been on all that stuff. Like, nope, 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 nope. I'm like,
yeah.
man, do it
You
now.
managed to avoid it like the whole time.
Yeah, I avoided everything good, like with style. It could have been somebody.
Like, he could have got it in the ground floor. I remember someone like back in '98 was like, "Hey
Yeah,
man, you should buy these shares of this company called Google. They're supposedly going to be really
yeah,
cool." I was like, "I'm not buying some bullshit Google. They're not going to be
yeah.
anything." Google, what kind of name is that?
Yeah,
So
who's gonna use
stupid. I'm
that?
not buying that. But you can do
Maybe
it
that's like
now.
me. Wait, wait, wait. My favorite one about me, like, I don't consider myself that dumb, and I can kind of catch trends. But I used to play video games, I still kind of
Yeah,
do once in a while. But
yeah,
when they were like, we're streaming video games, or like people streaming, like, what dumb idea is that? Who's gonna watch
yeah.
someone play a video game where you can just play yourself? Like, that's the stupidest idea. I'm like, just go play the
Huge.
game. How dumb? And it's like
Yeah,
now it's like multi-billion-dollar industry, and I'm like, wow,
huge.
you really missed the boat with that one, buddy.
Oh, huge.
I'm like, who's gonna watch that? I'm like, this is stupid. It's like, meanwhile, cut to however many years later, it's like the biggest thing
Yeah,
ever.
everyone's doing. Oh man, hey, zoom in on the guy on the right. I forgot to paint the pin on his grenade that's on his crotch there.
Oh,
Oh,
get in there,
fail. Oh man,
get
that's
in
the
there.
problem with taking that. Like, you take pictures of your models and like don't look at them. Like, don't zoom in.
Yeah,
And you zoom in and you're like, oh fuck.
yeah, but see, these look really good to me. This is kind of, if I was going for something, I want like I would be so happy with this. Like if I had something, if I got to this point, like, hey man,
Yeah,
put these on a table. They represent well. They look great. You put them on a table, they're gonna look cool. I'm like, that's
thank
all
you,
I.
thank you.
That's all I
I've
want.
definitely gotten my style to where I want it to be, where I'm not pushing myself for a standard that I don't care about. Like,
Yeah.
I want, like you said, I feel they represent pretty well. Like, to me, the color scheme and the aesthetic is more important than the
Yes.
technical
It's the feel. It's the
aptitude, if
feel.
that makes sense. Yeah,
No,
exactly.
and
Like,
absolutely
when you
because
look at them, I want you to be like, oh yeah, like I get that. Like, yeah, but this lines are bad. Who gives a shit? Like,
yeah. We get, what did she say? King Crimson. She thinks you're a murderer, but better than a war gamer. She's talking about you. King
She's
Crimson, hot painters in your area want to chat now.
yeah. I mean, I don't know. Though I've seen like nerd, is it nerd meat or like nerd something? Like, I
No,
keep getting
you
those.
seem cool to me. You like you're fine. You don't come off nothing. I don't know. You seem like the cool one. You seem like the
I
cool,
will.
like he's into stuff, but he's kind of cool. We'll bring him along.
Right. Yeah. 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 I will guide any conversation into Star Trek within 20
Yeah.
minutes. It doesn't really matter, dude. Like, I'm not really the cool one, like, at all.
See, well, you're faking it good, so that counts.
You fake it till you make it. Told
Yeah.
somebody that today already. We can
Yeah.
fix it in post, says Brush Wizard. That's true. Like, I can get this guy here to paint over that
Yeah.
one pin. Like, that's the thing. You got to paint the pins. Like, that's a major detail for me. I always think. Yeah, like King Crimson. Yeah, every time you take a picture and you zoom in, it's always like this. Get ready to to feel despair of like how
Oh
awful it is when you
gosh,
zoom
yeah.
in.
Yeah, because you see all the little edges and this, and it's like,
Yeah, yeah.
oh.
That's why black undercoats are like the best thing ever, because it hides a lot of
Yeah, that's
mistakes.
what I would think. I've seen, like some of those really talented painters out there who do it. They do a
Hmm.
black undercoat and then paint up, like light on
Hmm.
dark.
Yep,
And
yep, yep. You do like a zenithal highlight
yeah,
over the top to start off with. but just I think there's so much more to be said about composition and color choice and
100%.
aesthetic than strict 100% skill. Like
Technique, because to me you can kind of, I guess, and that's the same thing I enjoy. It's almost like I enjoy usually sketches almost better
mhm,
than finished render
mhm,
drawings from people and
yeah,
stuff. So to
yeah,
me it's kind of that same thing. It's like a life and a feel and a gesture instead of
mhm,
straight illustration, instead
yeah,
of like every
yeah.
little detail. And
There's something like more dynamic about that kind of like sketch or gesture.
I think so.
You're getting like sort of the raw, maybe the raw emotion of it,
You
as
do.
opposed to like this finished, like polished thing
And
that's
when
maybe too polished.
most of the people I know too, yes, and that's my problem too. I will go the too polished route, and it's
Hmm.
also a lot of,
Hmm.
as you work on the sketch, you're like ripping the life out of it. So I'll start on the sketch like, oh, I love it, it's so full of life, and it's, as I'm
Yeah,
drawing on it, it's like you're slowly
you're
killing the soul, and I'm like, that's
dying.
what
Yeah,
drawing is to me. Like it's like, oh, they're like, do you really like drawing? I'm like, like I'm trying not to like kill its soul. That's what I'm
yeah,
trying
yeah.
to do right
Now
now. It's like,
everything looks smooth and plastic and has no life.
yeah, that's it. It's like,
King,
ta-da! I robbed all the life out of what
yep,
would have been a beautiful picture.
killed it. King Crimson says, I
Yep.
thought I could paint, then I started taking pictures. True.
Yeah.
Brush Wizard, I realized 6 months later I never painted Grievous's lightsaber hilt. I mean, they're
Oh,
small.
I did a
Yeah.
comic book page sample.
Hmm.
And, I like the one dude he had arms on. He had like two arms or whatever on one side and one arm
Hmm.
on the other. And I did all this stuff, and then I drew another panel where he faced the direction, and I put the arms on the wrong side of the body in one of the panels. So it's like he has like two right arms in one, and then the next scene he has two
Doing
left
it.
arms. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, and I didn't even see it until I was like all done, like spending this huge illustration, and then like
Amazing.
totally did it backwards.
That's amazing. Something like whenever I'm painting, like I get like in this like manic zone. Like I was on I don't know if you ever check out Warhammer Community. They actually did this story about like how different people paint, like what's their kind of like their style.
Yeah.
And they had interviewed me basically for that, and my
Oh wow.
style is very much like mad scientist, and like they literally wrote mad scientist energy in, because be like I skip from model to model. Like if something else,
Yeah.
like if I go, oh, I have this idea, and I'll move over to something else
Yeah.
and I'll paint it, and then I'll come back. So that's how I miss details and things sometimes, because I have this
Yeah.
like manic, like let's make these things happen, and I just go and I go and I go, and then like 3 hours later I'm just covered in paint, like oh yes.
It's over. Is
Oh
it
god,
done? It's
so
just
good.
finished.
Oil paint, like oil paints are like my new thing that I'm messing with right now. I'm just having like
Oh,
a shit
see,
ton of fun with that.
I understand oil paints. I'm like, I wonder, I have to look some up and see what they're doing with oils. I know that rich color, aren't they generally richer, like in the color? Yeah.
The color is like easier to blend because it doesn't dry. Like
Yeah, yeah.
it takes forever to dry, and then you can
Hmm.
also manipulate. I do the thing where I just do oil washes and I like wipe it down and then kind of like streak it and wipe it down.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so you can manipulate the color itself before it dries, and it gives you
Gotcha.
sort
Yeah,
of
because
like
you can kind of almost mix
inexhaustible
more
opportunity.
color with
Yeah,
it. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And just the oil wash itself, like if you want instant grimdark, then that's the way to go. Just black oil
That's
wash
probably
like
me. I
over.
like the grim
Yeah,
dark. Corvax says
yeah.
using some kind of light box, even a homemade one, helps photography immensely. Yeah, I
I
that's one thing
agree
too.
with that. If I
I
didn't
have
paint
to.
the detail, it's still bad though.
Yeah,
Like
it doesn't.
the photographs isn't the problem. It's the I zoomed in and now he's
Yeah,
cross-eyed. This fucking
just
guy's
like take a
cross-eyed.
photo from a distance. Like make sure it's
Yeah,
small. Like
the
don't
four
zoom in so
I
much.
call it the 4 foot paint job from like where I'm standing at the game table. It's
Yeah,
gonna look great. That's the 4 foot paint
and
job.
to me that I guess would be my standard. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? I'm like, hey, I want to just take. You look at an army on a table and it looks
Yeah,
cool. You know?
yeah, 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 yeah. Don't zoom in. Don't
Yeah, we're
zoom in.
not. These are
Don't get too
miniatures.
close. You see, I kind of want to get. Oh, they're talking about Necron models. I did it with
Oh,
the
I like
Noise
the.
Marine. I still haven't painted yet. I have a Noise Marine in a box still that I got for like 2 Christmases ago.
These, I,
What are you gonna do? What are you gonna
yeah.
do?
Such
It's
is
just one of
life.
such is life.
Wow.
I have so many projects. There's so many.
Yeah, you seem like you have a lot going on.
I just have a lot of hobbies, and I don't know
Okay.
if that's like just a way for me to sort of distract myself from like the impending dread of like, existence,
Yeah.
or
I'm just
you
trying to
know,
avoid existential dread with
it's.
some
I
hobby
think
time.
that's what it is. Like, 2020 was a rough year. No exceptions almost across the board, and
No.
hobby stuff really was difficult to maintain. So
Yeah.
other hobbies sort of like jumped in, and all of it is just kind of a way to distract yourself, really,
Yeah.
if you're being honest.
Yeah, no,
Like,
that's what I'm doing. That's why I
it
was doing
sucks.
paintovers like 24. I'm like, okay, man, like just go
Yeah,
for it. And then,
yeah.
you're getting good interaction. And it was like, it's something people got to enjoy it. And it was good to see them
Hmm.
enjoy, like seeing their miniature in a new light. And
Oh,
plus,
dude,
I had
it's.
fun because we're like, hey, it's cool. So I was like, all right, this plague isn't going to grind me down. I'm going to try to do
Mm-mm,
something
mm-mm.
positive, and like that was it. I was like, okay, they're doing positive,
Yeah,
just go, 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 go,
that's
and don't
awesome.
look back. So
Dude, yeah, when you see your model painted over like this, I mean, it's like Christmas and your birthday at the same time. It's like so fucking cool. It just gives it.
I
I don't know.
I
It's just
love
so
everyone's
exciting, man.
stuff. I really do love them. Like that's what I was like. I think I just got that going for me. As I love staring at all the details that everyone does, and like these
Hmm.
feathers, just everything on these guys. Like, oh, look at that! And as I paint them over, I'm just like enjoying it as a fan. It's like, oh, this is
Yeah,
cool. I like
yeah,
that.
very
What should
cool.
you do with this? And yeah. And it's a good way
Yeah,
for me to get caught up on the hobby because I've been out of it.
yeah.
So it's just like I have people on and they tell me all the time, oh, I picked that
Hmm.
up. Oh, I know about this now.
Yeah. Now you're just collecting, and that's kind of how like when I'm doing my podcast, which the podcast is sort of in this nebulous in between right now,
Yeah.
speakingly, but I will get people on, and sure we're talking about hobby, but the focus of my podcast has always been we have more in common than we have not in common kind of
Oh,
thing.
absolutely.
And you start getting onto these different subjects of what people are into. Sure, we play games, but people are into all kind of different things, not just
Oh,
games.
yeah.
So we always get into these really interesting conversations about things I would never have considered as like a hobby or an interest, or
Hmm.
like I'm usually like I don't want to say caught off guard, but I'm always surprised by a lot of the things that like people are into,
Yeah.
and you can have great conversations because like I get interested. Like I love knowing what makes people tick. I love
Yeah.
knowing about them, and I'm like, okay, well, tell me about that because that's crazy. Like I've never
Yeah.
heard of that before. Like now I want to know absolutely everything about it. Like hit me with it.
Yeah. Good.
Third party model from Wargaming exclusive. These guys are talking about this cool General Grievous model.
Oh, yeah. I think I don't have that one on General Grievous. If it's the one, if it's for the game Legion, uh,
Yeah, I think so.
yeah, Brush Wizard had one of those painted. I didn't paint it over
Hmm.
because I did the Star Wars, the Clone Troopers, but that was a
Yeah,
cool
yeah.
model.
Did you do his speeder? Like it was a snow speeder? Did you do that one?
No, I did. Let me see. I
I
did
thought he
the
had a snow speeder paint over. Maybe I'm
I
mistaken.
did those.
Oh shit, that's cool. Yeah, that's the one you did last week, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even. I'm
That's
like
so awesome.
I I'm streaming way too much, but literally with me is
Losing
I
track of the
have to
days.
I have to make it a habit.
Uh-huh.
So it's like I have to make it a habit so that I can kind of go in at any time and do it. Like I want to be
Hmm.
able to, like, hey, I can, because I was like, I'm doing all this and I'm like, people YouTube and do also, why can't I set one up? Like, you know what I mean? I'm like,
Yeah,
well,
yeah, yeah.
I'm drawing. Why don't I just stream it while I'm drawing? And for a while there, I had a problem speaking and drawing because you can almost see your brain draining processing power.
Yeah,
Because
it's
if I
it's hard to
really
do them
have
at the
to
same time.
focus, it makes it hard. Like, that'll cause a seizure. Like,
Oh, they're saying it's not for Legion. It's a Necron General Grievous.
oh,
Oh,
interesting.
yeah. I'm not following that one. I
No.
don't get how much, guys. I just sit down here in my basement and stare at my computer and do schoolwork all
In
day.
your cool basement.
It's pretty cool. It's not bad. It's
Yeah.
it's nice. People come down here and they're like, "Whoa, what the fuck?" Like it's like
I'm kind of
literally
a big
shelves.
deal. I'm kind of a big deal. I
Kinda,
follow you. You
yeah.
may have heard of it.
it's shelves upon shelves of minis because I've started to like take things out of their boxes and like just have them on shelves like displayed. And so all my armies are out on shelves, and it's like it's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of stuff when you see it all out at the same time. Like,
Yeah.
ooh, that's a lot of stuff.
This is one I worked on this one yesterday, and
Oh, that's cool.
I so I'm a little over halfway done. I got to do some stuff, but
Yeah,
this is
yeah,
one I was working on live stream, and
that's awesome.
I got to a point, and I not full. I always kind of panic a little on some of these. There's always like
Hmm.
this, whatever, and I got to the point where I couldn't. I did the little details. I do the parts I know I'm going to have first. Like it's like I know I'm going to have laser blasts, so put the laser blasts in. I know I
Yes,
got to pick a background color, so put that in. So I was kind of doing the spots, but I didn't know what I was going to do for the background. And so I tried like all these things up here, and it was getting
yeah. Okay,
weird.
yeah, I can see.
Yeah, and I'm just trying endless stuff. And I had this green, and he made the suggestion too, and I thought I was like, oh, so I ended it like right before I got to the background. I'm like, it's one of those where if I'm drawing it by myself, I pause. I'm like, I gotta
Hmm.
stop here and I'll
Yeah,
come back with
yeah.
fresh eyes because I'm like, it's turning it. I always call it a clown show when I go like too much stuff and it's not working. And so
Yeah.
right here, I was like, I don't know what I want to do. I was like, I need like some sort of shape where I have to format the background, and I ended up taking. You can't really see the photo, so it's like an old black and white, like World War II bombing a city photo. You can see the
Okay,
font
yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah. I see it in the back in the
So
bottom. Yeah,
yeah, I just took that and I used that and kind of blurred it just to give it that background, and then it worked for me. I was like, okay, it kind of places it and
yeah.
breaks it up in my mind at least,
That's
And
very
so I like
cool. Yeah.
then I started going from there. I'm like, okay, the I'm going to stream this one live to finish it up probably, and then I am going to have on. I'm not done with this one, but almost, and I'm going to have them the painter of this on the live stream when I finish it up.
Hmm.
So
That's really cool.
those will be coming up. So apparently I'm like a streamer, I guess now.
You're a streamer now.
Am I a
That's the thing
streamer?
that's
Do they call
happening,
them
dude. Yeah.
streamers? I'm a streamer.
Yeah, that's streamers. Yeah, yeah.
Are you a streamer? That sounds lame.
Right.
It's probably
Like
my
this
version.
little
So I
thing.
would be a streamer.
Yeah, it's a little thing you flip around. Brush Wizard says that basement is amazing. Brush Wizard has come to visit and we've hung out. We did a
Oh, really?
we did a like a convention, and I use the word convention incredibly loosely in this
Yeah.
sense. It was not a very good convention. It was here in St. Louis, and he Brush Wizard was doing his own stream where he was painting, and
Okay.
so he had paid for like a desk to do like painting,
Okay.
and they had no idea what he was doing. Like they literally looked at us like we had fucking lobsters crawling out of our ears when we walked in that place. And he had a table, and he had set up his camera and all his stuff, and just wanted to hang out and paint. Not really do much else. Maybe chat with people every once in a while. But the
Yeah.
focus was, hey, I'm at this convention doing painting. That's
Yep.
cool. And it was awful. Like it was the worst convention. I'm sorry, guys, but like I was teaching a painting class. I was doing how to paint Nurgle models,
Okay.
and like nobody signed up for any of the classes. There's a couple other painter guys that teach painting, like real good guys. Yes,
Yep.
quote unquote convention. There's a guy named Pirate Monkey, and
Okay.
he's an amazing painter. He was there doing for teaching classes, and like nobody signed up for his classes like either. Like no, like they just
Yeah.
made
Yeah.
a convention, and it was kind of a glorified like tournament
Yep.
and it was just like all these people hanging out doing their own thing, and it wasn't really marketed or
Yeah.
like
It was just loose and
promoted.
fast.
Yeah. And so Scott Brush Wizard was here for the weekend, and we played some games. We had some fun down here in the basement, and this was the worst convention. It was so bad. It was so fucking bad, dude. It was awful. And yeah, but that was a fun experience. And I actually went to Michigan,
Oh, right on.
where Brush Wizard lives, and I visited him, stayed there, and we did a convention there where we taught 40K at one of the
Oh, so
conventions. I
you
forget the
are
name of the
all
convention.
active. Yeah, there's so many people who are active. He was
I'm
always, yeah.
everywhere.
Good, man.
I'm
Good.
omnipresent. Well, I used to be, obviously COVID slowed some things down.
Yeah.
I was doing a lot of conventions and I was teaching painting and I was doing, a lot of fundraising type of things. I did a couple of fundraisers here locally, and that's a thing I like to do is use the game like to run
Yep.
tournaments and like raise money. I did a fundraiser for this organization that collects college books and sends them to schools in Africa, and
Oh, okay.
people just have tons of college books. We got like 800 something fucking books out of this thing.
Yeah, I think you're
Like
right
we had
because
boxes and
yeah.
boxes of books. We're like, wow, because it was like enter, bring 5 books. To get
Yep.
another command point, bring 5 books. Like, so people were just
Oh,
like
so that
dumping
worked.
books. Yeah. And we had so many. Oh yeah, so Brush Wizard says the dude in charge had a wedding or something, so his buddy tried to run it, and everyone was clueless. That's correct. Most I got
Oh,
was doing a workshop at the local store for a box of Harlequins, and the
hey,
original
that's still
Harlequins,
something. You
like
got
the
a box
metal
of
ones.
Harlequins out of
Was it
that?
the
Like,
original metal Harlequins from Rogue
yeah,
Trader
that.
era? Because those are choice.
Yeah.
Yukon, that's what it was. Yeah, Yukon. And anyway, so yeah, I like to try to remain active. I mean, this 2020 kind of like beat everybody down
Yeah.
emotionally, and I'm still like trying to recover from that. Like I've definitely been feeling
Yeah.
like very much not as joyous as I normally
Yeah.
am for the hobby and just for life in general. So we're
Yeah.
working our
No,
way up.
I can totally understand that.
you know,
I got
uh,
so like, especially the winter. It's like all cooped up, and it, I'm a I
yeah.
don't like to like just go like, okay, I'm gonna like exercise, but
hmm
I'll go and like golf or go do something outside and get it that way. You know what I mean?
hmm
And I'm
hmm
just missing it so bad. It got
Some
sunny out
sunshine.
today, and
Yeah.
I literally I was like, okay, I'm gonna go run outside errands and go do stuff. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm shaving. I was out of control. I had like this
Yeah.
Grizzly Adams ass beard,
It's
and
amazing.
I'm like, okay, I'm gonna shave and act like an adult. And I'm like, I think it was like the first time I put on jeans in like a month. I've been like sweatpants everywhere, dude. I'm like sweatpants probably like a month and a half. And I'm like, I'm gonna put on, and it was like my dress pants, which means
Yeah.
jeans.
Yeah.
I was
Holy
like,
shit, you've been putting on pants?
yeah, yeah. So
Look at
that
this
was
guy
my
with his
big
fucking
thing.
pants over here.
I put on
Wow.
pants and
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
shaved my beard. I was like, I'm like, this is it. It's gonna be a big thing where I'm shaving. I'm ready for spring. I'm gonna like, cause man, it like all degrees of
Yeah.
lockdown and just everything, and even that, just all going on is a big
And
drag.
seasonal affective disorder is like a legit thing. I mean,
Yeah,
the sunshine, like you literally need sunshine.
yeah,
Like I said, but I was stationed in Greenland before I mentioned that, and there's months that's complete darkness. Like their
yeah. That's
wintertime
a
is 24
trip.
hour dark, and you have like these little lights that are supposed to give you the vitamin D, and
Yeah,
everyone has them on their desk, just like pointed, like I'm like leaning on mine,
yeah.
like trying
That's
to get
wild.
like it's real, like just the darkness, the cold, feeling like you can't go outside. Like first it's like, well, don't go outside, you'll get COVID and die, and then two, it's
Yeah,
fucking cold
yeah. It's
anyway, right? So yeah, I was I've definitely been underwhelmed
I know.
with everything. And you get to this point where like the things that you enjoy don't bring you like that same satisfaction.
So,
You're like,
and that's what
fine.
I haven't even gone to hang out with some of my friends. I'm like, what am I
Yeah,
doing? I'm like,
yeah,
what degree of institutionalized am I getting? And granted, I've been working a lot like on this
sure,
stuff, but
yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah,
still
yeah,
haven't gone and visited my friends, and I'm like, what am I doing where I'm not even for months, like didn't go visit them? So I'm like,
yeah,
okay, you got to go do that because what are you doing? Like, I don't even know what that's about. And I was like, I
yeah,
know it's
yeah.
something in my mind, but how come it's like you're so used to being shut off now that you've come to accept
hmm
it as normal, and I just want to stay in
Sure,
almost. And I'm like,
sure.
wow, I'm like, I can't do that. I'm not old man streaming yet.
I saw this post and people have been sharing it around on all the social media, and it says something like, do you feel like people are being more disconnected, like emails messages are shorter, texts are
Yeah,
shorter, non-existent? And I feel that because like a lot of people that I'm close to and that I care about that I would normally talk to like every
yeah,
day have just like are just not really talking much anymore. I've got my small group of people, and like I keep it pretty close,
yeah.
but like some people are just sort of like kind of, and I feel that way
Okay,
too
so
a lot
you
of
have
times.
noticed that.
Yeah.
I didn't. That's interesting to talk about because
Yeah.
I didn't know what if anyone else was going through that where they're like almost avoiding more or something, you know. And so I
Yeah,
didn't
I mean,
know.
I think that's probably a real thing where you just,
Yeah,
like there's a point where you're just exhausted and you're just like, I'll get
yeah,
to it. I'll talk to them later, or
yeah,
maybe there's a sensibility where you don't want to like impose your depressionness onto
yeah,
somebody else.
something.
So you're like, I'm a terrible company right now. I'm just not gonna
Yeah, you don't want to deal with me
fucking
right now,
yeah.
bro.
You don't want you trust me. You don't want to deal with me. I will let you do your thing.
I
You
will
know,
drag you dark.
yeah, yeah, I will drag you into my shit.
Yeah.
You don't want that, So yeah, I get that. It's just, but people are busy and trying to like survive, and
Yeah.
as much as I would like everybody to communicate with me every minute of the day to let me know that they still like me and that we're
Yeah.
cool, like I have to let that go. And I haven't even been like on social media much anyway either. So it's like,
Yeah.
I haven't been producing enough stuff for people to comment on it and to like interact with me. So I don't know what I'm
Yeah.
expecting, man. But that's like the life of like streamer, old man streaming now. You
I
know,
know that's what
if you
I
take a
apparently like and I'm so not it's one of the reasons I liked art is like I didn't want to be I don't
Mhm,
even care like oh
mhm.
show my art or someone thinks I'm great and you realize you're hindering it because you do have to show it like you do
Yeah,
have to put it out there if you want anything
yeah,
so it was almost like
yeah,
overcome your whatever you think you're thinking with that
yeah.
and it's like better late than never better to be an
Hmm.
old man streaming than
Hmm.
never streamed old man never streamed.
Well, my thing is like, if you're watch Gladiator, it's one of the best
Yeah,
movies
oh
of all
yeah,
time.
yeah,
And the dude's telling them like that once you hear the applause, you start to love them for the applause.
yeah, yeah.
And that's kind of the life of like a creator, I guess we would call
Yeah.
ourselves. Is
Oh,
you
I
get
was like,
used to that validation. It's like if
I
you don't have
laugh.
it, you're like, what
So,
the
so I laugh
fuck.
because I'm like, they use the term. I laughed because I was like, oh, so I'm working on all this, right? And I'm like, oh, so AE is basically a lifestyle brand for me. I'm like,
There
it's
you
like
go.
my
Hey.
whole like what I'm doing, and then I'm like, you hear these places they call them what? Content houses. I'm like a content house. I'm like laughing. I'm like, yeah,
Mhm.
everyone's putting out content. They're trying to clamor for
Content.
attention. And then I'm
Hmm.
like, so it's like a content farm. And then I'm like, oh wait, so I'm like a content cow.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Just
I'm like
you're a self-milking content
yeah, I'm a
cow.
self-milking content cow.
That's you, man. We'll keep getting at it, dude, all day.
Fox yes, what is old man streaming? Right here.
it's
Welcome to old
it's
man
you're
streaming.
you're on it right now,
Yep.
Fox. You're watching old man streaming
This
right now.
is
It's two old men talking about old shit, and my
we're
back
trying
hurts.
yeah,
And
now I'm trying to like relive my youth. It's like, oh yeah, I gotta
yeah,
it is. I
that's
think it is. It's like I
I'm
want to have
scratching my
fun. I'm
beard.
like, I'm getting too old to not have fun.
Sure. You get to a point where you're very comfortable with yourself and with who you are and with what you do. Like being like embarrassed about things, I think it's like a young man's game.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So
That's a lot of it
King
too.
Crimson says moo.
Moo.
That's the spirit.
Welcome to the content cows.
Welcome to the self milking.
Yeah.
Please sit down. Put on this raincoat.
Oh god, yeah. Self
It's
milk with the content cows. What?
yeah. I mean, there's nothing wrong with enjoying yourself, having fun, having some self deprecation, and joking at your
Well,
own
you have
expense
to,
every
and
once in a while.
that's the one thing
But have fun. Yeah.
it is, and so that's what I didn't realize about this. And so, to me, if you would have told me like before live stream, I'm like nightmare scenario. You're gonna say the wrong thing. It's forever recorded. Everyone's
Yeah.
gonna bash you. Like I could give you the whole long list of why it's like the worst nightmare scenario you could have ever told me. I'm like, dude, that is like the worst. I'm never gonna be streaming.
Yeah.
Then
Won't
I
do it.
did it and I had fun, and I was so like at first I'm very like, okay, what am I speaking? Am I saying like too much or so
Hmm.
too much or what am I
Hmm.
doing? And I'm all worried about it. And that was one of the good things about having someone on is because whatever I like nerdy stuff and to talk about someone who's into their stuff and whatever they are. And I just like,
Yeah.
okay, this
Yeah.
is cool. Everyone's in even just the small sample of people I had on, everyone has
Hmm.
their different take and what they're into the hobby for and what
Yeah.
they get out of it and stuff. So it was a lot of a lot of fun
Yeah.
unexpectedly.
King Crimson says you're in the splash zone now. This is the splash zone. I think the guest is literally the one in the splash zone, like
Yeah, you're welcome to the content cows.
content cow splash zone adjacent. I mean, and it's just
I
so
know
easy to do like streaming and stuff now. I mean, the technology is
it is,
works really well. I mean, the
and
Twitch and the OBS and whatever else, all this. I sound see this old man streaming, but like it's easy to do. You do it,
it's
just click a
and
button,
it's
boom.
only going to get bigger because more and more people are just going to watch stuff online and do stuff.
Hmm.
Like it still has such growth because there's not even
Yeah.
people, and I'm like, it's a definite skill set, and I think one I'm always like happy just when these I'll see these young people all doing. I'm like, okay, you go because you're learning all those skills to speak in front of the people and
Hmm.
have a
Hmm.
show and
Yeah.
presentation
Yeah.
and all. It's like good for you. You know what I'm always like happy. It's like I should have been doing more of that kind of stuff when I was younger. You know, so it's like
Yeah.
it's good to see them get out there. It's like okay, get out there and put yourself out there and do some stuff.
Yeah. Not
I
hard to
don't
do.
think I
Anyone can
want.
do it.
I know, and I don't think I want to overwork this one. I think I might call this
Yeah.
one about good.
I mean, it's amazing. Like it looks like an amazing.
Thank you. These were like I said, I wanted to do them for a while now, and I seen them like, oh, these are really good, and I'm like, I to work it in there, and I was like, you said you'd
Yeah.
come on, I was so happy.
Yeah.
I was like, awesome, and this has been a lot of fun. This has been great talking to you, and you got
Yeah,
that
dude.
nice background. It's like I got a
It's a whole thing.
someone who was all prepared for it.
I'm set up. I'm set up for it, man. I'm a talker. Like I just like talking to people. I love communicating and learning about people, and I really love talking about myself. If you haven't
Hey, well,
noticed,
see, that's good. I'm the exact opposite.
I'd do that
So
all day, man.
perfect. I'll have to have you back. You're really good for that. So podcast is just kind of laying low right now while you kind of get through the plague
So
type of deal.
yeah, the podcast. I'm just sort of trying to get over my inner turmoil about doing it.
Yeah,
It's just I'm lazy, like it
yeah,
just takes
yeah.
so much to edit and put together and to
That
upload and do
is
all
a
these
thing
things.
with that.
And I'm actually right now, and you talked. I don't know if Hobby Vice has talked about this. Him and I have been talking about doing our own streaming show.
Okay.
And like I said, streaming seems very attractive to me because there's no editing involved, and I got the
No.
background like you said, and I just get
Yeah.
on there and just fucking be goofy for an hour or two. So Hobby Vices and I have been talking about doing our own streaming show. We started our own podcast last year, but right around that time is when his house got flooded,
Yeah.
and because karma's a bitch, man. So
Yeah.
so his house got flooded, so like we stopped doing that. Like he literally didn't, he like was homeless for a while, and he was going from
Yeah.
like house to house and living in his car and doing weird stuff on the street for
Oh,
I don't know, whatever. So he was like trying to get back together. And so finally we're to a point where we're ready to work again. And I was like, well, let's not do a podcast because editing sucks ass. So let's do
yeah.
this stream thing that all the fucking kids are doing. So that's what we're planning on. And we're
Oh,
going to sit
good.
around, much like this format. We're going to sit around, maybe do some hobby, talk about some stuff. I want to try to keep it a little structured, but we'll see. I mean,
See,
I'm the
that's
tangent
what.
guy.
So, um, uh, 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 now the Forge of Mars. So I was like, hey, why don't you come back and we'll do a regular scheduled one?
Mhm.
I'm like,
Yeah.
let's do one on a regular schedule, and then kind of, I want to do it structured because I'm like, and I just care. I'm like, okay, if I'm doing it, I got to do it well. I want to try to put
Mhm.
effort in and like get better. I'm
Sure.
like, I'm gonna
Yeah.
do something,
Yeah.
got to do it. And I was like, well, I'll start to try to do like not necessarily hard segments for a while, but I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, if the first 15 minutes is me doing a breakdown of my process, then at least the person knows who, if I want to know about his process, you can check the first 15 minutes. If you want to hear
Sure.
about
Yeah.
what
Okay.
the
That
new
makes sense.
release is, maybe we talk about that in the next half hour
Yeah.
or
You get a
whatever.
sense
So,
for the flow of each show, like how
and
it's going to go.
yeah.
It's
And I
comforting.
also I want a tip segment for a tip, and I like it would be a nice short segment because you on Twitter you can share 2 minutes and 20 seconds of
Hmm.
video, and
Hmm.
I could literally record this and use it just
Yeah.
as a tweet.
Cut it up.
And
Yeah. Like
so
cut it
I
up and
wanted to
shoot
have
it
a
out.
segment called Just the Tip, and it's just a short tip. And it's just one tip for a hobby, and you get just
Love
the
it.
tip, and then you
Yeah.
can put it
Love
out
it.
like online, but it's also in the show. and I
Yeah.
can, the program I use on this is pretty cool because like you can just play little. I don't even put any of my whatever I saw in my pop ups. So I got the little,
Oh, there you
like
go. Look at
pop
that.
up. I can do that, and if I am on, wait, let me see. If I go here and there, I have to get this down
Whoa.
right. I can
Yeah.
put a little ad space on the side.
Mhm.
So if you see in
And I
that
do one of
corner,
these numbers.
yeah, they're so small. Like they got the ads and stuff. Yeah, dude. And so I'm just like, oh, I want to try this stuff. Yeah, so whatever. What do I have?
Oh, hey. And then I do one of these.
Yeah, look, you point down. I
Yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah. Dude,
See, so you're already getting this is
I,
like a warm up for
I'm
your
like Vanna
show.
White over here, bro. I make it look good. Like hook it up. I
Yeah, dude.
touch the letter and change the colors. Like whatever,
You're all
man.
ready for the live stream stuff, my man.
Dude, I just want people to look at me and pay attention. Oh God, pay attention to me.
It's so interesting just how so different people are. Like, because to me that was like the nightmare. It's like, oh, do not pay attention to
Yeah,
me. I don't
yeah,
even notice. I don't even find. I'll just like skate out of this life and duck out.
yeah. Like I'll just be here behind the thing
Yeah, it's like I
painting.
don't know. I'm always like people. I don't know. A lot of bad things go on when you involve people.
Yeah, yeah. Everything
But
would
then
be going all
again,
right if it wasn't for people.
a lot of it I learned you make it all up in your mind, a lot of
Oh
stuff, you
sure,
get like
yeah,
all negative
yeah,
about something. What are you getting all negative? Like
yeah,
I'll have stuff going good and you're like, oh no, like especially when you worry when stuff is going good and then you even panic more, like what is that one? I'm like, what is the point of
yeah.
panicking
I,
when,
and I've actually said this today as well, like or recently that no one views you the way that you view yourself.
absolutely.
Like you have this like image of you, and you're like, oh man, people must think this about me. And I
Yeah.
guarantee you, one, that they're too tied up in their own
Yeah,
BS to
that's
like
what
really care that much, and
yes.
then two, they don't have that introspection about your character that you do, so they don't
Mhm.
see that. They don't care. No one cares. No one
No,
cares.
that's it. That's it. And that's why I'm like, what is? No one even cares. Like, you're the paint over guy. Go
No
paint
one
over and whatever. Get going.
cares.
Like,
Yeah,
like,
no
like
one
the,
cares.
I'm
Just do
like,
your thing, man.
I'm like, this life is drawn to a close. Get over it, buddy.
Yeah, yeah. Like I told my wife, I got 2 good years left.
Yeah.
Get real fucking weird with it. Who cares? Just do the thing that makes you happy. Like if
That's
you enjoy
no
it,
for real.
keep going. Like just there's like this tendency. Like there was like if you haven't learned anything during the shutdown or the
Yeah,
quarantine, then you've wasted your time and you have no discipline. Like fuck that, man. Things are
I've learned I
stressful
like
enough.
sweatpants. That's
Yeah,
what.
I learned I like no pants. So I mean,
Yeah,
that's really no pants, no shoes, no problem.
yeah,
Just me in a big baggy t-shirt, shirt cocking it with a, just
yeah.
around the house. Who
Living
cares?
the life.
Like, don't put that pressure on yourself,
No.
and for every like personal growth, there is a point in your life where you make that decision yourself and no one can tell you when to do it, but you hit it and go, oh shit, I need to be doing something different and I need to grow. And if it's not during the apocalypse, then
Yeah,
that's fine. It might be next year where you go, oh man, like I could have done a lot during the apocalypse. Well, I'm going to do it now,
yeah.
and you're on it. But
That's what with me. I was like, well, if you're not going to paint over people's miniatures during the plague, when are you going to do it?
yeah, exactly.
If you're not going to try to make money during the plague, when are you really going to do it with art, buddy?
It's kind of like the best time,
Yeah, I
and
know. I
I
laugh
was
like
in
everything's shut
school.
down.
Yeah,
Like people can't
yeah,
work. Like people are
yeah,
out of jobs. Like I'm like, hey, commission me for some art. It's like
yeah.
that's what you should do. Don't worry about
Give
your
me the money you don't
groceries.
have.
Yeah, it's like the
You-
perfect time to shill art. It's like, are you
Boom.
worried about food? That
Yeah,
food will come and go, but this paint over will
yeah.
stay
You'll
forever.
you'll have that. Give me money you don't have for stuff you don't need. Come on, pay
Yeah.
up. Shut up and give me your money.
Oh man. Well, thank
Important.
you so much for joining, dude. This was a
Yeah,
lot
man. I
of
had a great
fun.
time. Yeah. Thanks for
I
having
will.
me, dude.
I'll end up getting you the high res of this and shoot you that over.
Ooh. Yeah. Give me that high res.
And that thing is great. Great army, man. I really enjoyed
Oh,
it.
thank you.
I've
Thank you.
been
It's a
wanting to
labor of
do it,
love.
so it was cool. I'm like, oh, he's gonna come on. We're gonna do it live, and I'll get to chat with him about all the cool stuff. We're gonna have to do this again because I used to
Yeah.
play paintball a bunch, and I never played airsoft, so I'm gonna
Let's do
have to
it.
like
Come on
pick
over.
your brain on some of that.
Come on over. I'll gladly shoot
Yeah,
you. I
and
prefer
I
shooting
know you're
people I
willing to
know.
talk, so that works.
Yeah, man. Anytime you let me know, I appreciate it.
I like it because I am trying to. I think I'm going to do a kind of a. Uh, Thank you very much, Fox. Fox said it ended up great. I appreciate that.
Oh.
Um, I'm going to end up doing something kind of regular. I'm going to do with Lee
Hmm.
and kind of do a show or whatever,
Hmm.
and then I'm literally trying to form a habit. So I got to get my timing down and just hop in,
Yeah.
stream. I get to connect. Hey, hop on, and then
Yeah.
like later, because I can invite multiple people on and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we can have a
It's
couple
limitless
people, and
almost. Yeah, you can do whatever you want.
yeah, and I'm like, how fun is this? And after meeting and talking to a few, I'm like, okay, I enjoy it. I'm like, this is cool. I get to
Yeah.
talk about people with all their things and what they're into with all hobbies and life in general and stuff. So it's been a lot exciting. I'm just like, I am really grateful, like, for the opportunity that anyone even cares. Like, I didn't
Yeah.
imagine
No.
anyone caring. I thought I did paint overs because I liked it. I'm like, oh, dude, someone's gonna be like, you're just scrubbing over someone's miniatures. That's lame. Like,
Yeah.
you go do your
Yeah.
own stuff, and why don't you try and stop trying to ride people's
Yeah.
fame? Like, that's what I thought it was gonna be. I was like, oh, dude, no one's gonna
No, I don't
care.
think anybody feels like that.
Yeah, and I was just like, oh wow, people are into it. I'm like, okay, cool, because like I just, I whatever. You see, everyone's awesome. They spend so much time, and everyone's like creating these backstories and they
Hmm.
put all the effort in and all that. I'm like, okay, I think that should be celebrated. I'm like, I want to polish
Yeah.
stuff
Oh,
up and
yeah.
show it
It
in that
is.
world.
It's a celebration. Yeah, it's a celebration. It's very like you have a reverence for people's work and an
No, for
understanding,
sure.
and yeah, it totally comes through in all the stuff that you do, man. I think it's fantastic. I'm a
Yeah,
huge fan,
thank
like
you
I
very
said.
much, dude. Thank you. So we'll be seeing you around when you start pumping out that podcast or streaming or whatever you do. You got to have me on. I need to.
Yeah,
I
we'll do
gotta.
it.
I have to chase clout now. I think I'm a clout chaser.
You
I
know
just
what?
realized
That's
I'm old man clout chaser, dude.
life of the content creator,
Yeah,
man.
a content cow on the loose. Content cow
Cont-
coming
you
through.
need that content clout, clout tent.
Clout tens. Oh gosh. Uh, well, I'm going to end now. Thanks. It's like what King Crimson said. It's like bringing my guys to life. I love that. It is really great for the
Absolutely,
hobby. Thank you very
100%
much.
correct.
Yeah, I love.
Yes.
Like, look at these things. Come on, look at how cool that is. And it's all like he made it all up and created it and came up with the paint scheme. And look at this stuff is so cool. Plus, you
Love
got
it,
some of
man.
the best sculptors in the world making the miniatures.
Oh
I
yeah.
laughed at the
Oh yeah.
process. So it's like you had sculptors way back in the day. You had concept artists and artists making stuff. Then you kind of had sculptors going after over it. Then you had multiple iterations of that. Then you had people now resculpt it. You buy it, you paint
Hmm.
it. Then I get the photo of it and then pay. It's like this 32-step person process to get to the final product.
It's amazing. No, that's amazing.
And when you think about how many like artistic choices went to get it all done,
Oh
you know what I
yeah.
mean, through all those hands to get to this, it's
And
pretty
it's just
cool.
it's just another avenue that the hobby can take. I mean,
Absolutely,
it's
because I'm sure some people,
yeah.
because I love the stuff, and it's like, okay, if you give them, and I want to do a couple simple things. I've been like pondering it in my head how to simplify the process so that
Hmm.
some people can kind of do their own thing with it and just get, because there's a lot you
Okay.
can do just cleaning up a pic and putting in a simple background. You know what I mean? It
Hmm.
can really
Hmm.
change the look of how they're presented
Yeah.
and stuff
Yeah,
like
for
that.
sure.
So I want to try to do a couple things that'll help people if they want to just, hey, I want to add a little something. And you don't have to make some big, beautiful, like huge thing going on. It's like you can just tint the background and make the sky a little something and put a little
Yeah.
ground in. It's like just start with
Yeah.
something simple and dabble away.
You got it down, man. Love it.
Thank you for everyone for joining. I really appreciate you watching. It helps a lot. Dan has been awesome. I really
I've had a lot of
appreciate
fun,
it, man.
man.
And so you did great, and I tagged along.
Thank you guys for watching, man. Yeah, that's
And I'm
awesome.
about
Thanks
to
for
end,
having me
so
along.
have a good one.